Ooh, hello, hello, hello. How are we all doing today? I hope everybody's doing good. I'm doing great, honestly. Got a good sleep. Woke up at or around, well, I'll admit to 1 o'clock, but it was more like 2:30. You know how it is. Got myself a big stretch. Got myself some attention from my dogs. Good doggy doos. So I had a great day. Super good. Super good. I hope everybody else's day's been going great. We're probably going to hop right in here. We got some news about Crimson Desert, which just came out not too long ago. And I haven't played Crimson Desert. I don't plan on playing Crimson Desert. Some people like it, some people don't like it, so I'm interested to see what the news is about it. It's been one of those games where, I had my already preconceived opinions about it. Usually I like to give a lot of games a try, especially if they're like, non AAA games, but this one kind of had like a little bit of thought process to it. I had delicious Alfredo, so my day is now better. Awesome. And hello to you too, Munstery. Hello, hello, hello. After we get done with the talking about Crimson Desert, we got some stuff about Valve, which I heard is going to be kind of exciting. At least I've been told it's been kind of exciting. I don't know what's happening in the Valvosphere, so to speak. So, well, I mean, besides, of course, all the lawsuits. So I'm hoping that we get some good news. I mean, obviously, Gabe's been farming W's, so hopefully he continues to farm those W's until the day he unfortunately passes, which I hope, happen in the next 200 years. So we don't lose him, and I'll be long gone before he leaves because I feel like it's more important that he stays. Then, of course, we got a new Shu video. We love Shu. And we got our regular lineup of gaming news and industry news from Legendary Drops, Bellular, and Endymion. We have the triple threat, so to speak. Other than them getting lawfared, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see because I haven't watched the video. And then, of course, I'm going experimental because I love, believe it or not, I love experimental films. I love experimental things in general. I don't like the artsy fartsy pretentious ones, but that's probably because I'm the most pretentious person that I know. Probably got something to do with that, right, guys? But I'm getting a little experimental. We have a video from the Cockroach Man himself, and we have another video about a bill to legalize machine guns from Brendan Herrera. And if we have time, we're gonna get to them. I'm not gonna lie, might be a little spicy with some of the responses and comments, because obviously these people have, well, one of these people have their dedicated haters, so I'm hoping maybe that I can avoid that. But he's talking about the way people, at least as far as I'm aware, perceive deepfakes, AIs, misinformation on the internet. And I think it's a good jumping off spot to have like a conversation, because I watched about half of it and I was like, "Ooh, this would be really good for stream." So here he is. And that's what we got on the docket for today. We'll probably most likely not make it past the Endymion video. They're on the far end of it, just in case we do get to it. Say we're blitzing through these videos, which, preamble aside, probably won't happen, but we'll see. All right, let's hop right into it. Let's see what Crimson Desert's got for us. Let's see what Water CS2, is it Water CS2? Oh, this is Dalfang. Let's see what Dalfang has for us and go from there. Did they change? I thought I got this from somebody else, or got this directly from Water CS. Oh, Water CS2 is the Valve video. I'm an idiot. So, Dalfang, let's see what we got. Tell me about Crimson Desert. Let's
Not
go.
even a week after publishing what is probably...
Also, sorry, I hate to interrupt, but I'm going to interrupt here. I have changed some of my video settings, my audio settings, so please let me know if it's too low or too loud. I'm thinking likely it might be a little too loud, so let me know, all right?
Probably the most consequential bad review in recent gaming history. a review that crashed
Okay.
Pearl Abyss's stock 40%, that was substantially written about things patched away in 72 hours. The three
Let's see real quickly, because I think that it's important. What did IGN rate? What did IGN rate Assassin's Creed Shadows? An 8. What did IGN rate Concord? I just want a number. Just give me a fucking number. A 7 out of 10. What did IGN rate Star Wars Outlaws? A 7. So, going to the end of this, remember, IGN says this game is worse than Assassin's Creed Shadows, says it's worse than Concord, says it's worse than Star Wars Outlaws. What did IGN rate? Oh, but it, believe it or not, it's better than X-Fato. Because that was a 5.
3 million people ignored with their own money. IGN just published another Crimson Desert piece. And this time, they called the developers naive designers.
Also, I will say, I hate the fact that we have gotten used to as an industry, or rather as a consumer of an industry, saying that, oh yeah, they'll fix the issues after launch. It's like, come on, man. Like, can we just launch a game that's like solid? Speaking of solid, looks like my internet's screwing up. No, it looks like we're back. Well, let's see if we're back. I've been having hiccups with my internet. It's been really windy here, imagine. So, sorry if that's the case, but you know, we're gonna push through. But yeah, I hate the fact that games have been releasing with little to no quality control when it comes to their glitches and stuff. But, you know, they have been fixing it, which is a lot more to say than most games that leave their glitches to fester for like, oh my god, some of them fester for years.
I want you to sit with that for a second before we go any further.
Sure.
Naive designers. The studio that spent 8 years building one of the most technically complex.
Solid when you can't even say that. How do you mean? What did I know you're like we're on shifted planes here. I know, and I still haven't figured out how to time YouTube chat up to me.
Visually extraordinary, seamlessly handcrafted open worlds this medium has ever produced. Naive designers. Written with complete confidence by someone who has never written a line of code, never designed a single game system,
oh yeah,
never taken one creative risk in the medium.
Game developer, or sorry, games journalists don't have anything
someone whose
that they do
entire
that's
professional
like
existence,
of
whose
merit.
platform, whose audience, whose
I don't know the reference. Are you talking about Metal Gear Solid? I'm not gonna lie. I know. Sue me. Never played Metal Gear Solid. Know a lot about it. Well, I know a little bit about it. But I haven't played it.
institutional
shock and awe.
power exists precisely because Pearl Abyss did the hard work, and 3 million people wanted to experience it. Without the studio's building and us consuming, there is no IGN. There is no platform.
Thank you,
There
Nova,
is
for your
no
stunning and brave
Metacritic score.
insights.
There is no institutional authority. The whole apparatus is entirely downstream of the thing it's condescending about.
True.
And they called those developers naive.
And this is why people hate the games journalists industry. Because it's not only that they're out of touch, but they're out of touch with an air and a source of power that is undeserved. Nobody ever likes to see that. And quite honestly, I think we now have started to have a learned intolerance of them. We don't tolerate their stupid opinions, and every time they put out a review, it's just a joke. Everybody knows they're a joke. Honestly, I think even IGN knows they're a joke. I think at this point, they're doubling down on being the joke because they're making money off of it. I wouldn't put it past them.
So I want to ask the question nobody at IGN seems to have asked before publishing this.
Nope.
What exactly is this confidence built on? Because 20 years ago, sure. 20 years ago, IGN served a real and legitimate function.
This is true.
You couldn't watch 40 hours of gameplay on YouTube before buying.
That's
You couldn't
also
pull up a
very
Twitch
true.
stream of someone 200 hours deep in a game. You couldn't read 10,000 Steam reviews from actual players who bought it with their own money. The information gap was real. The institutional access was
To be fair, there were a lot of other alternative methods of trying to figure out whether or not a game is good, but usually those also were controlled by major industry powers like Nintendo Power. I mean, I think IGN even had a magazine. Like I think God, I still have somewhere in my like parents' basement a bunch of like old gaming magazines that like, you know, I would only get them occasionally. My parents didn't get them a lot for me. But I've got like one or two that I would thumb through, like, I don't know, maybe once a week because, you know, I wanted the games. I wanted to see what was happening. And it was awesome to have because, like, you had all this stuff in front of you. It showed a bunch about the games, but it definitely was a lot more sparse than it is today, for better or for worse.
real. Review copies, preview events, publishing infrastructure, the ability to reach millions before anyone else could.
Mm-hmm.
The authority had a genuine foundation, and it earned its place in this ecosystem. But what is that foundation in 2026?
And like, I don't know if he's going to go on to talk about this, but it's more important to kind of like really make sure that we hammer home everybody back in the day who was writing for these, you know, journalist outlooks and stuff like that, quite likely and most probably had their own biases and opinions. And their own biases and opinions that they definitely put into what they were reviewing. However, a lot of the times they're also able to put that aside and try to make something a little bit more objective, although there were times where it was not as objective and you can clearly see there was a bias towards, you know, certain publishers, certain AAA publishers. And you could also very much see when somebody definitely seemed like they got a paid promotion that didn't seem like a game that should have been paid promotion worthy. And that started happening towards the shift towards the mid 2000s, towards like, you know, 2010. I usually use the decades as a good mile marker because that's, you know, obviously what people do, I guess. But for me, they're very clearly distinguished by that. I kind of make a mental note. But that's what I'm saying about like that is these types of problems have been prevalent in the industry writ large all the time. But it's been incredibly more pronounced lately in current year because more people have access to being able to make their own content about it. You don't have to be a professional reviewer and vetted by this near cult-like society in order to get your opinion out there.
YouTube exists, Twitch exists, Steam exists. The entire information monopoly that justified 20 years of institutional authority has been completely democratized. The gap that made IGN necessary is long gone. And here's what gets me on a personal level, gamer to gamer. Every game referenced in this article, Cyberpunk, Elden Ring, Valheim, Red Dead Redemption. I've played all of them, thousands of hours across most of them. So have most of you.
There were a lot of indie games in that list, by the way.
So have the three...
Well, I guess technically Cyberpunk really doesn't count as an indie game because CD Projekt Red is a major industry competitor, but at the same time, they're, I think, a little bit more... They're not newer, but their prominence is a little bit more increased recently, and it was not as prominent as, like, say, you know, Activision, EA, or hell, even Ubisoft. Same thing for From Software. From Software really started taking off in like the 2010s with Dark Souls, so they're newer in a way. Like, I kind of put them in the basket of indie games, even though they're really not an indie studio.
Million people who bought Crimson Desert. We experienced everything he experienced. We know everything he knows. We've lived in every world he's drawing on to make his comparisons. There is no enlightenment the badge confers. No insight invisible to us that becomes visible to him by virtue of working at IGN. No asymmetrical information. No technical expertise. No game development experience. Gamer to gamer. He thinks he's more qualified to evaluate this game than the people who bought it.
A lot of people like to do appeals to authority like that. And, quite honestly, there is a certain degree of leniency that most people give to people who have an authority type of, quote, badge, close quote. And, that's, you can talk about whether or not that's for better or for worse. It really doesn't matter, because there are experts who are completely dumb, and there are non-experts that could be much smarter than the experts. So really, you just have to vet the opinion yourself and critically think about it for 5 to 10 minutes, which in a lot of instances is a little bit of a big ask.
Played it and loved it. And the 3 million copies, the very positive Steam rating, and the rebounding stock price are 3 independent data sources all saying the same thing at the same time. That's what this video is about. Not just the bad review, we've covered that. Not just the face-saving follow-up piece they just published, though we're going through it in detail. It's about the specific quality of arrogance that makes both of those things possible.
Arrogance is
the
a good
kind
word
that
to
only
describe who
survives
they are.
when it goes unchallenged long enough.
And I would
to
know
stop
I'm the most
feeling
arrogant
like
person that I
arrogance
know.
And start feeling like authority. Let's go through it.
Take it from me, I'm a
The
professional
very first
arrogant.
sentence of this article is, "Love it or hate it, there's no denying that Crimson Desert has suffered something of a rocky launch." Rocky launch. 2 million copies sold on day 1.
So, again, if we're going to be looking at pure statistical numbers, they did fine. Like, there was a lot of people who bought it, that pre-purchased it, and played it, and continue to play it. It did, however, have some technical problems. Like, that is a practical reality. And a lot of people have a hard time living in a world where 2 things can be true at once. It can be true. They released well, and they had a lot of problems, from what I hear. Especially in a way that some of the menus and systems were designed, and some of the, they had some minor balance issues. Maybe moderate balance issues, because some people were very much complaining about that. That's okay. You can admit both of those things. They can both be true.
I played on launch day and had a blast.
Sure.
The only thing rocky about this launch was legacy gaming media manufacturing informational chaos and calling it criticism.
Which can
And
also
I want
have
you to
been a thing.
notice what was in the original review and what wasn't. Controls, inventory management, boss difficulty. Every complaint was about surface-level friction, the kind of stuff any
Inventory management is not surface level friction. I'm going to disagree a little bit with that slight assessment, because a lot of people have their stopping moments in games when the game gets in front of being able to play the game. And that is truly the case. In fact, some people are willing to face tank it and play it, but that's a quit moment for some people. It is what it is. So it really is a little bit of a problem. But is it as big as a problem that IGN made it out to be? I don't know. We'll see. Crimson Desert also has an issue where people expect an RPG, despite never saying it was, and got an action and adventure a la Red Dead. I don't know. I can't speak to that, mostly because I don't know if that is or isn't the case. Again, like I said, I never played it, so I wasn't expecting anything from it. But if that is the case, which I could see that very easily being the case, because it happens with a lot of other games, then that is unfortunate.
and studio
But not
patches away
Crimson
in the
Desert's
first
fault.
week. Pearl Abyss did it in 72 hours. What was never in the review?
Huge, by the way.
The artistic vision.
Huge
The
that they
sheer
were
technical
able to
achievement
fix that
of a
in 72
seamless
hours.
open world at that scale and beauty. The genuinely original design philosophy. None of the things that will still matter about this game in 10 years registered. just the surface.
Yeah, because they don't want to talk
Just the
about
stuff
that.
that was gone before the review was even cold. And now, look
They
at...
don't want to talk about that because they definitely wanted the review to go in a direction, right? So they're using the part of their article that should have been there that wasn't mentioned to inform the game, or rather to inform the gamer who's reading this, or to negatively inform the gamer who's reading this about not the good aspects of the game. It's definitely a way of bending a message, and it's incredibly manipulative. Like, I'm going to be completely honest. I've seen people do this where they're like, I'm just not going to tell the full truth. I'm not going to give any good things about the game, because if you give nothing good about the game, then people can't assume that it has good things. Or rather, the uninformed cannot assume that it has good things. It's very slimy. It really does make me... It doesn't make me distrustful, because I've already been distrustful of them, but it really does make me dissatisfied with how they're allowed to do such a thing.
what this follow-up piece is actually doing. Everything that dominated the original review, the controls, the inventory, the boss difficulty, has been patched away.
That's good to hear.
So the rocky launch...
Because like I said, that was a big problem for a lot of people on launch, and I've seen some people play, like, I didn't watch the whole playthrough, but I took their feelings on the on it at the very end of their videos just to see generally how it launched. They all said the same thing, some balance issues, inventory management was a headache, and if they fixed that in 72 hours, my first criticism would be, why wasn't that fixed in the first 72 hours when it was launched? But in that not being in it, and maybe they didn't know it was going to be a problem, fixing it within 72 hours is monumental, and they should be getting all praise for doing that, because not too many games can do that now, or not too many games do that nowadays.
Framing has quietly shifted to the one thing patches can't touch: the story.
Okay.
That's what's left. That's the last redoubt.
Yes, because most people care about the story. They don't care about how the game plays, because traditionally, as we've seen, that's the selling point of a game, right? Sure.
We've
Good
covered
job,
extensively
IDN.
in previous essays why that argument falls apart the moment you actually engage with what this game is trying to do. And we'll get into it again. But I want you to see the sleight of hand clearly first.
There you go. Sleight of hand's a
One patch
great
cycle
phrase for it.
invalidated the overwhelming majority of their professional criticism.
Wow.
And rather than acknowledge that, they reframed it. Rocky launch. Still standing. Still confident. As if the ground beneath them...
All right, IGN. We'll do some live checking here. Steam, DB, iGuard. It's been killed. How many people are in game? Oh yeah, that's right. 7. How? I don't fucking know. But there's 7 in game right now. Okay. Check Marathon. Marathon. 26,000. 34,000 peak. By the way, this has been going down. It used to be 40, like right here. Then it went to mid-30s. Now it's in like mid-30s. By the way, this is the weekend right here. The weekend counts went down again. Who would have thought? What about Crimson Desert? $156,000 with a peak of 186,000 on the weekend. Huh. Man. Jesus. Who would have thought? Certainly not I.
them hasn't completely shifted.
Rocky launch, my ass.
Then we get to the paragraph that made me stop reading and just stare at my screen for a moment. It's unclear if the development team has had to break their backs to do this. Think about what you have to believe about yourself to write that.
By the way, that's purple prose. That's like... That is a way of framing something with emotion that basically is trying to sway the reader.
Sentence. Pearl Abyss, a studio whose stock crashed partly because of a review
I can't believe
substantially
that
written
made it
about
into an
things they
IGN.
then
Well, I can,
fixed
because
in
they're a bunch
3
of
days,
hacks.
came back, listened, worked, and turned the entire conversation around in under a week.
Imagine.
And the response is to wonder, in print, whether they had to work hard to do it. That's not neutral. That's a power move dressed up as a throwaway.
Well, the way that they also worded it was in such a way to make you think that they didn't actually have to work hard for it. They're using an intellectual or rather linguistical sleight of hand in order to make you feel or to devalue the work that might have gone into it by saying it in such a way that is dismissive. At least it seemed dismissive to me.
It's the kind of sentence that lets you condescend to someone
There
while
you go.
maintaining complete plausible deniability about having done it. And then, assuming that's true, it would also mean that Pearl Abyss didn't see the glaring issues in Crimson Desert's design, be that a result of poor internal testing, naive designers, or simply not seeing the wood for the trees.
Imagine.
Naive designers. What?
Like, the worst part is like I said, it has a kernel of truth to it in the sense that they definitely had some issues with some of the way that they designed things that, as any game, and any game developer would say, is a blind spot of people who have been testing a game and are intimately familiar with its systems and the way that it works. And they think something's great, but once it gets to contact with the players, they find out real fast that they were only used to the jank of the game and that there needs to be some significant changes in order to make it more playable for people. And the way that IGN is framing it is, well, how could they have not figured this out? When the fact is, every game goes through that. Imagine.
Technical background, what engineering expertise, what game development experience sits behind the confidence required to call the people who built this naive? The answer, as far as anyone can establish, is a media degree. That's it.
Yeah,
That's the
what a
foundation.
useful degree. Oh no.
Something happens in the middle of this article that I think is the most revealing moment in the whole piece. After walking through the patches and grudgingly acknowledging that they worked, fast travel improved, storage box transformed the crafting loop, boss difficulty adjusted, they write this sentence. If you already like Crimson Desert's approach, I think there's a genuine possibility that it could be a contender for your Game of the Year by the summer.
If you already like Crimson Desert's approach, then I think there's a genuine possibility that it could be a contender for your Game of the Year by the summer. Okay. Honestly, if somebody said that to me, I think the first thing that I would say is, listen here, bitch. Okay, you and I are going to have some words. Because I know exactly what you're trying to do. You're dismissing the fact that it is, in a way, much better than you want to give it credit for by calling it my Game of the Year. Now, I'm not even going to say that Crimson Desert can be Game of the Year. I don't know. I have never played it. I don't intend to play it. If it makes Game of the Year, good for them. I'm happy for them. If it doesn't make Game of the Year, oh well. Maybe better luck next time. But if you're saying that it's your Game of the Year, brother, now you're just trying to be an asshole.
Genuine possibility that it could be a
Trying to
contender for
start
your
some
Game
shit.
of the Year by the summer. Your Game of the Year.
Imagine.
Not the Game of the Year. Yours. As in, for people like you.
For people like
with
you.
your particular
Imagine.
taste. People who enjoy this kind of thing. Read that again and feel exactly how much condescension is packed into one word.
It is not condescension. It is antipathy. They hate you. They hate everything about you. And that's okay. Because they can be a hateful person over there. I'm going to be a loving person over here. And love games no matter what they are. Because that's better for me. Sure, I have my preferences. Sure, I clown on bad games sometimes. But genuinely speaking, I like to give everything a chance. I like to give everything, something at least good that they can take away from. But once you're telling me that I'm the asshole when you're being the asshole, okay, now we got a problem.
They didn't correct the 6. They didn't reconsider. They just graciously extended permission for a certain type of player to enjoy a certain type of game. The hierarchy is completely
And the worst part about it is I think I'm better at being an asshole than they are.
intact. The authority never moved.
I choose
They're
to not
still
be.
above it. They're
Pray
just
that I
acknowledging
continue
that
to
some
choose to
people
not be.
with some tastes might find value here. First, they condescended the developers, naive designers. Now they're condescending the players, the very people their entire existence depends on. Written with complete confidence and zero self-awareness that without us, none of this exists. They complained, in the review and again here, that having to prepare for bosses was a design failure.
Oh no.
Cooking food,
Guys, I have to prepare for a boss. Oh man, I just pre-planning in my video game? Man, shit. How can I do that? How am I even supposed to be expected to know on a game that gives me probably multiple tries for a boss and failure really doesn't mean all that much? How can I just all these items? What am I supposed to I can't. So hard, man.
managing
I'm getting venomous now. I'm sorry. I'm getting super venomous. I'm gonna take a step back. We're gonna assume the best of people.
resources, grinding to get ready for a difficult fight. Too much of a burden. Punishing. And honestly, I had to laugh. Because the preparation in this game isn't a separate grind you stop and do. It's just what happens when you're actually playing.
I would assume
You're exploring, picking up ores naturally, buying mats from NPCs on the road, upgrading gear organically. By the time you reach a boss, you have more than enough if you've been engaging with the world at all. The reviewer made it sound like he had
Which, by the way, is good game design. If you're like good in quotes, because it depends on what type of game you're making, of course, because everything depends on that. But if you're making an action adventure game where, you're supposed to be continuing the action, making sure that the action's always rising, giving players access to stuff that they're definitely going to use on the way with very little friction in the way of acquiring these things, then you're doing a good job because they've got it there. They don't have to break the, immersion chain of action in order to go farm things out. That's good game design. It really just is, because it puts together all of the pieces in a cohesive package and reduces the friction for the player. At least that's design principles as far as I've been known them as classical video game design principles. Which, of course, again, like I said, depends on your game, depends on how you want to break them, if you want to subvert them or what have you. But it's classic.
to stop everything and dedicate hours to farming. That's not the game. That's someone who didn't understand how the systems work together, describing his own confusion as a design failure. And this person called himself a hardcore Souls player. But
I would love to see them play a Souls game. I don't know if I could handle it. I'm going to be completely honest. Like, again, this is a no flame moment right here. But when I say I don't know if I could handle it, I love Souls games. And generally speaking, when new players play Souls games, I like watching them because it's interesting. You see like all of the problems and setbacks that you as a legacy player have had, and you can empathize with it. And it's fun to watch and fun to share that game with new players. But when you are a professed Souls quote veteran close quote like this, and you're saying that, you know, you're a tryhard, what have you, and you are coming at it from a place of authority, okay, gloves are going to come off, because now you're trying to utilize this in a way to cudgel me to accepting your opinion. All right. Now we got another problem, brother.
here's what makes this particularly pointed. Pearl Abyss listened anyway. They nerfed the bosses. They fixed the inventory. They added the storage. They responded with extraordinary speed and genuine care. And
They did.
IGN is still standing by the 6. Because institutional arrogance doesn't update when reality pushes back. It just keeps going. Still certain, still confident, still writing think pieces about whether the patches were enough, rather
I don't think games journalists should be able to write think pieces. I don't know how important that is for them. I think they should just be sticking purely to factual matters rather than think pieces.
than asking whether the review was. And then we get to the part that I think most completely exposes the limits of how these outlets actually think about games. Their argument is that Crimson Desert's story is a fundamental creative failure. Not technical, not a launch window issue, but baked into the bones. And to explain why, they invoke Cyberpunk 2077.
Okay.
I've played thousands.
I have heard mixed reviews on the story. I'm not gonna lie, I have. I've heard some people really liked it. I heard some people really didn't care for it. But you don't sell a game solely on the story. So take that for what you will. I don't know. Could be good, could be bad. I don't know. Oh no, I forgot my stream buddy. I was gonna have my dog in here as a stream buddy today, but forgot to grab him. I might grab him after this video.
Of hours of
He's been a good
Cyberpunk.
boy.
Cyberpunk is a cinematic experience first, and an open world second. That's the design philosophy, held completely and executed brilliantly. Every decision serves that vision. When you're in a Cyberpunk cutscene, you're not being taken out of the game.
That's true.
You're in the deepest part of it.
Yep.
That conviction produced one of the greatest games ever made. Crimson Desert
Is Cyberpunk 2077 one of the greatest games ever made? I don't know if I could agree to that. And I'm not saying that I don't think I can agree to it because it's necessarily a bad game. I think because in order to make a qualitative and quantitative argument for that, you're going to have some hurdles because there are some other very, very good games that could qualify as greatest game ever made. Is it in the basket of greatest games ever made? I don't know. I enjoyed Cyberpunk 2077. I don't know if I would think that the story was... I don't think the story was anything that was massively, like, subversive or, like, the greatest thing. I think that the story was okay. I think that it had some other significant problems. But if it is one of your favorite games and one of what you would say the greatest games of all times is, then, good for you. I'm glad you liked it. I think that that is a wild claim to be making as an IGN games reviewer.
has a completely different conviction. And here's the thing IGN cannot grasp. That difference is not a deficiency. It's a design philosophy.
Sure.
A deliberate, ambitious attempt to do something Western open-world design stopped trying to do years ago. Let me tell you what I was doing while this article was being written.
Are they
I found
playing the
out
fucking
there was
game?
an armor set somewhere in the world. The Shadows plate armor. Full Lich King aesthetic.
Yeah,
hood
he was
up,
playing the
black
fucking game.
robes, massive executioner axe. Nobody sent me to get it. No quest marker, no objective, no waypoint. I just heard it existed and decided I wanted it.
Yep.
What followed was genuinely one of the best gaming sessions I've had in years. I rode out with
Just saying, telling a player that something exists in the game, not telling them where it's at, giving them a scavenger hunt, telling them to go find it, and then the player doing that. Holy shit, bro. Guys, I think we figured out how to make fun. Oh my god, the player has their own goal and what they want to accomplish in the game. Banished the thought.
just a direction. Scaled mountains that looked like the Canadian Rockies, genuinely
Ooh.
vertical. The kind of climb where you grip the controller tighter because you're not sure you'll make it. Stumbled into a witch's hideout built inside an ancient tree trunk in the Wayward Woods. Found it completely by accident because I'd gone the wrong way. Accidentally rode through a black bear camp and got chased halfway up a mountain by what felt like an entire civilization of
Run.
absolutely furious barbarians.
Run, 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 run.
Dropped into desert canyons with waterfalls hidden inside them.
Oh, cool.
Found border cities that weren't on any map I'd looked at. Still on Chapter 4. Main story untouched for hours. Nothing locked me out. The world just existed, vast and alive, and completely indifferent to
God,
whether I was
imagine
following
no
the
game
plot.
make that, guys.
That's mediocrity? That's what I'm supposed to endure to get to the good stuff. And then they compare this to Starfield. Starfield is
What a wild comparison. What an absolutely wild comparison.
procedurally generated emptiness connected by loading screens. Crimson Desert is a handcrafted world you traverse seamlessly on horseback for hours, watching biomes change around you in real time. Putting them in the same sentence isn't analysis. It's proof the framework has broken down so completely.
It's almost like they didn't even play more than an hour of Starfield, more than an hour of Crimson Desert. Man, wouldn't that be something if the playtime came out and they only had like an hour?
It's producing conclusions that make no sense to anyone who has actually spent real time in both worlds.
I'll be 100% fair. I know. Being fair to IGN. Being an IGN game reviewer might actually be more difficult than somebody gives them credit for. Having to play the game, we'll just say for 10 hours, and then write a print paper review of it with actual analysis, information, not only just your opinion, might actually be difficult. And it being expected to do that for like maybe 2 games, 3 games in a week, which a lot of people might not think is a lot, but that's 30 hours of playtime, probably 5 to 10 hours of writing. We're looking at 35 to 40 hours a week just in game and thinking about the game, besides all the other responsibilities they have as an IGN staff member, might actually be a lot of work. Sure, we can say that. I'll accept that. However, there are people who do YouTube as a hobby, not their primary job, who do it better than them. That's really funny.
And then there is this line, the one that I keep coming back to. To unlock Crimson Desert's more accomplished facets, you have to dedicate hours to mediocrity.
Well, I had to dedicate an hour of mediocrity to reading and listening about your article, so I guess we're even then. Even Stevens.
Think about what made World of Warcraft legendary. Not the endgame, not the raids. Riding through Elwyn Forest for the first time with no idea where you were going, in a world that felt like it had been there long before you arrived, and would continue long after you logged off. Think about what made Skyrim legendary. Not the main quest,
Skyrim
but
mentioned
the feeling that over that mountain there might be something worth finding.
the obligatory rest in peace all my Bethesda RPG fans.
And the world making good on that promise often enough that you kept going. Neither of those games opened with their most accomplished moments. They opened with a world and trusted you to find it. That trust was the entire point. Crimson Desert is doing something much closer to what the great MMOs understood. That in a world this big and this alive,
What? An MMO company doing something similar to what MMOs or great MMOs of old did? Interesting.
heavy narrative doesn't deepen immersion, it works against it. Every cutscene that locks you into a specific emotional experience reminds you you're watching someone else's story rather than living in your own. The short, well-animated story beats give you just enough context to feel the weight of the world of Pywell, without taking that weight out of your hands. By Chapter 4, Cliff's journey had already given me enough to feel genuinely invested. Not because the writing is flawless, but because the world around it is real enough that even an imperfect story lands differently than it would in a smaller space. That's not mediocrity. That's a design philosophy that requires a different vocabulary to evaluate than the one IGN is working with. And calling it mediocrity with that confidence from that position is the arrogance made completely visible. The vocabulary doesn't exist in their framework, and rather than acknowledge that the framework might be the problem, they call the thing the framework can't evaluate mediocre. So here's the question this whole article forces me to ask, and I think it's the most important one we've raised in this entire series.
The way that IGN tries to approach that.
What is IGN's arrogance actually built on? Because arrogance with a foundation is at least coherent.
Conspiracy theory time. I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. I am going to make the wild claim, or rather, I'm going to make the assertion that it is my genuine belief and not a statement of fact, but just a statement of my belief for legal purposes. I think that IGN continues to pump out these garbage articles because it's the only traffic that they get. I know, wild. I think that they do it specifically so that people go to their website and they get ad revenue. And I think that's the only reason why they do it. Because it's the only way that they can make money. I have no factual basis for this. It's just a vibe check. And if I'm right in the coming future, I'm going to stand up in my room and laugh maniacally that I was right. And that's about as far as that goes.
A surgeon with thousands of successful operations can be confident. An engineer whose bridge is still standing can be confident. Even a critic with a long track record of being demonstrably right can earn institutional confidence.
I don't know about that.
The arrogance has something underneath it.
I don't know if they have a long track record of being right.
We've played every game they reference. We've lived in Cyberpunk, Elden Ring, Valheim, Skyrim, World of Warcraft.
True.
We know exactly what they're drawing on, and we can evaluate those comparisons as well as they can. Probably better, because most of us have spent significantly more time in these worlds than any reviewer on a deadline ever could. There is no expertise gap. There is no insider knowledge. There is no technical foundation. What they have is institutional capital. 20 years of accumulated authority that went unchallenged long enough to start feeling like competence. The IGN badge doesn't come with expertise.
Is it 20 years?
It comes with a Metacritic score that...
When did they come out? When did IGN start reviewing games? Sure. 1996. It hasn't been 20 years. It's been 30 years. That's a long time.
Moves stock prices. And for 20 years, that's been enough to crash valuations, shape what gets greenlit, call Korean developers naive, completely certain of its own authority. And gamers are not an easy crowd. We are the most cynical, hardest to please, most forensically critical audience in entertainment.
We have a learned cynicism because they have taught us to be cynical of them. We have a learned hardness when it comes to these types of things. It's not our fault that we're that way. It's theirs.
We tear games apart for a bad frame rate. We spend hours in forums dissecting single
We are what
quest
they
design
created
decisions.
us to be.
When we defend a studio rather than tear it apart,
In the sense that,
that means
we are
something.
willing to play that
It
part
means the
because
studio
we would
passed a
rather
test
play that part
very few parts.
than align ourselves with them.
3 million of us independently decided, with our own money, that Crimson Desert was worth it. That's not a mob. That's a verdict from the hardest audience in entertainment.
Yep.
And the data makes the institutional failure undeniable. 3 million copies despite the review. Steam going very positive, in direct contradiction of the critical consensus. And most tellingly,
More trustworthy than
the stock recovering.
IGN.
Because even institutional money is now recalibrating. The market itself is figuring out what gamers already knew. That IGN's verdict on Crimson Desert told you more about IGN's framework than it did about Crimson Desert. The one thing
I mean, again, all you have to do is look towards what they like. Like, the old adage of, I know what makes you people laugh, is true. I know what makes you people enjoy, quote, a game. So I'm not going to value your opinion when you say you dislike a game.
they were supposed to do, they failed at completely. And the market is learning to price that failure in.
Remember,
That's the collapse
Assassin's
of
Creed
institutional
Shadows scored
trust
better than this
made
game.
visible in data. And their response is this article.
Never forget.
Not an apology, not a reconsideration. A face-saving piece written with the same unbroken confidence as always. Because the arrogance only survives in the absence of accountability. So let me leave you with a question I've been sitting with since I read this piece. If IGN doesn't represent us, the gamers, and they don't make games, and the information gap that once justified their existence is long gone, and the YouTubers covering these same games have larger audiences, more hours played, more skin in the game, and are held accountable by their communities in real time,
Sure.
what exactly is justifying their existence in 2026?
Somebody's making money.
What are they actually for?
Somebody's making money off of
I don't
them.
have a clean answer yet, but we'll
I do.
explore it properly and
I do. Somebody's making money off of them. That is the only reason why they exist. Somewhere out there, somebody, one individual or one grouping of individuals is making money. Who is it? I don't know. Why? How much? I don't know. But it's more than $1. They're making money off of them. And you know what? I think it's time they stop making money off of them.
future video. What I do know is that the fact the question is even worth asking tells you everything about where we are. That's it from me. But before I go, once again, thank you. To everyone who showed up for this one, the comments, the shares, the support. It means
Yeah,
everything,
man, you got it,
and
man.
it keeps this going. And genuine thank you to Enjoy GM, a longtime partner who has supported this channel through thick and thin.
Nice.
If you're playing Where Winds Meet, Wuthering Waves, Genshin Impact, or any other
Nah.
gacha, Enjoy GM lets you top up at better rates than you'd normally get. No account
there you go,
login
then.
required.
If you
Nothing
are
sensitive
a
shared.
gacha player,
You
there
enter
you go.
your UID, pick your amount, pay, and you're done.
I don't know.
Link is in the description. Community Discord and everything else is down
I cannot validate or vouch for the efficacy or integrity of any services that are being advertised by any other YouTuber. I just want to put that out there that any attempts or trying on any other type of platform is yours and yours alone. I have not personally interacted with it, so I don't know what it's like.
there too. Until
Oh,
the next one.
We're lagging again.
Peace.
Peace. Boom.
For
Oops.
over a decade.
Nah. Well, that was definitely an interesting video. Feels scammy to you? I'm not going to call it a scam because I don't know. If it's asking for your UID, I am going to caution everybody to be careful with your user ID and your information. And anything that you put it in, including but not limited to any type of video game, any type of email service that you don't know or trust, anything that could even tangentially be possibly related to a scam. I'm not going to shit on it because I don't know, but be careful with your information. All I have to say. But yes, I definitely think that Crimson Desert success probably is merited. My biggest problem is that there is no good official quote information coming out about some of the, problems about the game, or even lack thereof of problems, which is in itself telling. So yeah, I'm going to trust YouTubers more often than not on the matters of, game reviews. And I think they earned that. I do. I think you reap what you sow, and they have sown discord, and now they are reaping the rewards of that. All right. So, real quick, it does seem like my internet is having a bit of a fucky wucky right now. So if I end up dying, I'll come back. Don't worry. Sorry about all of the internet problems, but it's been stormy out here, and as it's been stormy, our internet has been acting up where we're at. So, yikes to my ISP. Hopefully, honestly, I don't even think that changing an internet plan would fix this. I think this is just the shitty internet where I live. Oh, it looks like we're back. All right. Let's talk about the W's that Steam has been farming. Because I'm going to bet you these are going to be a good palate cleanser from having to listen to the brain rot, or rather the brain leakage of IGN. I swear, I'm going to try my hardest not to be venomous against them. It's not what I want to be, but I am a very venomous person in real life, in a way. So, hopefully I can, not show that side of me yet.
For over a decade, the gaming world has been chasing a ghost. That ghost is the Source 2 SDK. Since Valve first teased their new engine, developers have been salivating at the thought of getting their hands on the tools.
So they're making a new engine. That's awesome.
We've seen what Valve can do with it. We've seen the lighting, the Rubicon physics, and the legendary optimization that makes Valve games.
Damn, that's some good liquid physics. Holy shit.
Feel like Valve games. But for 10 years,
ooh, that was good.
Those tools stayed behind a locked door. Unless you were a high-level partner or a Valve employee, you were stuck on the outside looking in.
Gotta hold it back there, cowboy. Listen.
Waiting for Valve to drop a...
Listen, Nova, I do not come from the West. I have not earned the mantle of cowboy yet. Just because I wear hats doesn't mean I wear them cowboy hats. I don't even speak the way that cowboys would speak. Can't call me cowboy. Now you can call me an East Coast socialite. Sure, I'll take that one. But I am not a cowboy.
Traditional SDK, something was happening in the background at Face Punch Studios. Gary Newman, the creator of Garry's Mod and Rust, was building a love letter to Source 2. He called it Sandbox, or as some say, S&Box. For a long time, people thought Sandbox was just going to be Garry's Mod 2, a sandbox where you play other people's creations.
Ooh.
But as of March 2026, the entire landscape of indie game development is shifting. The news we have been waiting years for is official. Face Punch has finalized
Where's your first-person potion alchemy mixing
Valve.
game with liquid and bottle potions? Well, there's probably coming
in Sandbox, export it as a standalone executable, and sell it on Steam as your own professional product.
That's really cool. I'm really happy that the tools for indie game developers are definitely much better than they were even 5 years ago. If you obviously I'm not a game developer. I don't know anything about game development in the practical sense. I know what about theoretical senses in a way. But, as a practical application and a practical skill, I really don't know much about it. But if you have those practical skills, or even the ability to acquire those practical skills, and you want to make a game, You have not had a better time to do it than now. Which is awesome. I think that's neat.
Completely royalty free. This is the birth of a new modern engine war. This is Valve's current secret weapon to reclaim the scene from Unity and Unreal. Today we are breaking down why this deal is such big news for gamers and developers. Before we get into the legal deal, we need to understand what Sandbox actually is. According to Facepunch's official description, SNBox is a spiritual successor to Garry's Mod and a love letter to Source 2. It's built to eclipse what was possible before, not just modernize it. We're using Source 2 and everything we've learned from Source 1, Garry's Mod, Unity, and Unreal to create a modern, intuitive, moddable game development environment. Just think about that for a second. They aren't trying to make a better Gmod. They are trying to take the best parts of Unity and Unreal and combine them with the Valve feel of Source 2. It's a full game engine and platform where you create in a familiar scene-based editor, but unlike other engines, multiplayer is built in from day one. You create a...
You know, that's very interesting that, like, again, Valve and its developers just coming in farming W's just left and right. I honestly am curious to know, or curious to see in the near future, what the indie game landscape is going to look like with this in it. You know, I've never really been a huge Source Engine fan in the sense of like the games made on it, because that's probably due in part to personality. Maybe the games passed me by, but I haven't really played that many games in Source Engine. So I'm kind of excited if this does, you know, get big, which it looks like it might, to see what it feels like, how it plays, because it could be interesting. If this engine meets the hype, Epic is cooked from the indie end. I mean, Epic might even be cooked from the AAA end if you really sit down and think about it. Like, if this is just a good engine and it's free, AAAs are going to look at that and be like, so why are we paying for Unreal again?
Game, and it's instantly playable. As Garry puts it, this is a long-term project. They aren't looking for a quick win. They are building a platform they want to use themselves for the next couple of decades.
You know it's going to be good when they say, we are making something that we want to engage with ourselves. That is like my first litmus test to see if like it's worthy of investing my time into.
The Steam page already live and a full launch window set for April 2026. We are standing on the edge of a new era. Anyone who has tried out Sandbox already can tell you it has insane potential when it fully launches. The possibilities are essentially endless. So now let's get into the heart of the new developments. On March 25th, 2026, Garry Newman dropped a bombshell in their newsfeed. He stated, "We signed the new license with Valve this week, allowing us to allow people to export games from Sandbox's editor and ship them as standalone games on Steam, completely royalty free." He admitted that this wasn't an easy deal to strike.
So Valve just kind of walked up to them or walked to the table with them and said, oh, yeah, you can export your games and you don't have to pay royalties. Excuse me? Gabe himself has come down from the heavens to give us the gift of Steam and gaming. He can't lose.
A bit of a complicated journey that required a lot of
I don't know. A lot of AAA studios see themselves on a weird hill, on weird hills to die on for some reason. They probably say that we're not changing any engines because Unreal is better, even if it isn't. You know, I don't know what that's going to look like, because, you know, on the one hand, you might be right that they might stick to it because it's what they've been using. You know, maybe they have contracts, maybe they have to wait for it to extend. I can't honestly predict the future. It would seem to me the most reasonable course of action is within 5 years of this engine coming out, it being an easy engine to work with, the transition period from we'll just use Unreal as a good example. From Unreal to Sandbox, they might do that. And there also might be some, there might be some development tools or some type of like specific engine specific things that they did as workarounds or as part of their game development process that are only usable in Unreal, that they might still use it. But any new project, I think, if this engine is as good as it seems like it's hyped up to be, will likely use this engine if it's that good, especially because it's got Unreal compatibility. AAA will absolutely be the last group to switch over because they'll drag their feet and pitch a fit about it getting popular. Well, Unreal definitely will. Sorry, Epic definitely will. Because obviously they're going to be losing a market share. But I don't know if they're going to be dragging their feet because they're going to be angry that it succeeded. I think they're going to drag their feet because of, honestly, the monumental task that it takes to migrate engines. Like, that is a big task, to be fair. And if they're a corporate entity, everything in corporate, you might as well tack on 5 years. There's a new thing that came out that everybody else is adopting. Well, corporate will adopt it in 5 years when it's obsolete. I know this for a fact. I've seen people do it. We're implementing something that's 5 years out of date. Yeah, okay, that sounds about right.
Assurance and compromises, but in the end, as Gary famously said, Valve did the bizzo. Usually when you license an engine, you are signing away a huge chunk of your wallet, but this deal allows you to take your sandbox creation. Let's say you made a revolutionary tactical shooter, or maybe even a cozy farming simulator, and then you turn it into a standalone game. The player at home doesn't even need to have Sandbox installed to see or play your game. You don't owe Valve or Facepunch a single cent in royalties for using their engine. Sandbox is entering the market and saying, keep your money. You owe nothing for using the Source 2 technology provided through Sandbox. This makes it one of the most financially attractive engines for any developer to launch on Steam. Valve and Facepunch are essentially paying it forward.
How does Steam keep getting away with this? Just being the best.
They want to see the next generation of
if I were a AAA dev, I'd be mad.
Without the weight of corporate greed crushing them before they start. But you might be wondering, why is Gary doing this? Why wouldn't he at least take a small cut?
Because he's amazing.
Providing the tools and so much more. In November 2025, when he began the process of open sourcing Sandbox components, he said, Valve gave me my chance. I'm already rich. I don't want to fuck anyone over. He expanded on this in further interviews, explaining that his entire 20-year career is thanks to Valve taking a risk on a modder from the UK back in the early 2000s.
Wow. Imagine if only we had more people like this in the halls of power.
Gary's mod gave him more money than he could have ever dreamed of, and now he feels a responsibility to pass that torch. That's my main motivation now, is giving people what I've had, because I think Valve did it for me. I think we should be the same, because everybody benefits. So by making Sandbox standalone and royalty-free, Gary is recreating—
Just remember, when you're on your Doomer pill arc, or when you're like Doomer, taking the black pill or whatever, remember, there are people who legitimately like this exist in the world. Hopefully that's enough for you to be able to come back from all the doom and gloom of literally anything else. Gary's mod was honestly pretty goated in its era. It was. Again, you're gonna hear this from me, and it's definitely a huge dock to my gamer score. I never played Gary's mod. Never appealed to me. I know, shock, horror, and awe. However, I do exist in a world where I can recognize that it is a great piece of, is it a game or software? I don't know what would be more better to describe it, but it is a brilliant piece of whatever it is. And I'm happy that it exists because I think it overall made games better. Because it gave a lot of people, a lot of indie developers, their first start in game creation.
The Gary's Mod moment for everyone else. He is giving us the tools to build the next big game.
Damn,
and
that looks
he's
fun.
removing every legal barrier that usually stops that from happening. But now we need to clarify something important. The version of Source 2 inside Sandbox isn't just a copy and paste of what Valve uses for Counter-Strike 2 or Dota 2. It's a custom high-performance branch that Facepunch has been gutting and rebuilding for years.
Damn.
As they also are using
I miss
C#
classic Gary's
for
mod prop
multiple
hunt.
other systems.
Imagine.
So although this isn't the raw Source 2 code that Valve uses, it is still a very important part. Just think of it this way, Valve builds Source 2 to make Valve games. That means the raw engine is often full of Valve jank, specific code meant only for Half-Life or Counter-Strike. Gary and his team took that foundation and essentially translated it for the rest of us. They replaced the old clunky systems with modern workflows. It's Source 2, but it's been face punchified to be fun and easy to use. So some game devs or even gamers might be wondering, but why would you pick this over a behemoth like Unreal Engine 5 or Unity? And it comes down to three things:
Money.
physics, fidelity, and friction. For physics, Unreal is known for chaos physics, which is great for cinematic destruction, but it
Sure.
can feel heavy or floaty at times. Source 2 uses Rubicon.
It also feels like there's a certain degree of like, how do I put this? There is a degree of something in the Unreal Engine that makes it feel like you're playing an Unreal Engine game. I don't know if it's the weightiness or any type of other type of adjective, because I don't know how to describe how I know I'm playing an Unreal game. Maybe shorted in a way, but it feels like it. So I can understand what is being meant by that. Also, it seems like the storm here is picking up a little bit. If you hear thunder in the background, oof.
Which is arguably the most tactile physics engine in gaming. It's why
Sure.
throwing a bottle in
Man.
Half-Life Alyx or moving in CS2 feels so precise. For indies making physics-based games,
Like that, I feel like I could drink that. That doesn't feel like, you know, an approximation of liquid. That feels like, oh, I could just reach through the screen and drink that.
this is the gold
Which is a
standard.
weird feeling.
So Sandbox currently uses a customized version of Rubicon, which they call Box 3D Physics, as they've made tons of changes to it over the years. In terms of visuals, while
Gmod
Unreal
TTT was
has
peak.
Lumen, it requires a massive amount of
Nice.
hardware power. Sandbox leverages Valve's VRAD 3 lighting and native Vulkan support.
the same way that we knew
gives you that
CryEngine games?
crisp,
Yeah.
clean Valve look, high-end light.
I actually, so I just suggested in the, by the way, Discord plug, huge Discord plug if you're not part of the Discord. I was talking to somebody asked about games that could be played, you know, because they were like, hey, does anybody got any good recommendations? And I recommended a CryEngine game called Generation Zero. If you haven't played it, you know, give it a try. It's pretty good. But as soon as I started playing that, I was like, is this CryEngine? I'm pretty sure it was. Let me see. Otherwise, I'm going to look stupid. Pretty sure it is, yeah. Oh, no, it's not. What engine? The Apex engine, rather. But it's made by the people who did Crysis, so it was close. But I knew it was not Unreal, and I was like, oh, this feels different. And it was fun. But definitely, the engine definitely does give meaningful feel to things.
Lighting and shadows that run smoothly even on mid-range hardware.
Yeah, it's hard to
AAA
quantify
fidelity
them.
without the AAA hardware requirement. But then there's also the death of compile times. In Sandbox, with hot loading, you can change the gravity of your world or the fire rate of a gun while you are standing in the game, and it updates
That's pretty
the
good for
second
people.
you
That's pretty good for people who like can't visualize coding, right? Or visualize like what's happening. Again, I don't really know much about game development, but like this right here, this part, my eyes just glaze over. I have no idea. It's just like, okay. Like, I understand sometimes when I'm reading stuff like this, especially when it comes to mods and stuff, but it might as well be in a foreign language to me. But being able to see it side by side,
Hit
ooh,
save.
that's nice.
You're not just building a game, you're actually playing with it in real time. But I already know there's gonna be a question that a lot of you are asking. Why doesn't Valve just release their own Source 2 SDK? Why have to go through Facepunch? And well, if you know
So it uses
Valve,
an
you know
interpreter
they
rather
are
than
a
a compiler.
product-first
Interesting.
company. They build tools to
Yeah,
make
honestly, because you said that you have been dabbling and stuff like that, I'd be interested to see if if you got your hands on this, Munstry, and if you had any opinions on it, because obviously your opinion would be a little bit more weighty than mine, having not done any game development. Not to put you on the spot or anything like that, but I'd be interested in your opinion when it comes out. See how it feels for you.
their games. So by licensing the engine to Facepunch, Valve gets all the benefits of Source 2 being widely used without any of the headaches of supporting it. Facepunch acts as the translator. They take the raw, powerful, and often messy internal Valve tools and polish them into a consumer-grade product. This is likely the only quote-unquote Source 2 SDK we will see for a very, very long time, even though it's not technically only Source 2, and more so just a custom version of it at this point. Valve provided the foundation,
it seems very
and
3D
Gary
physics
provides
from
the
this,
accessibility.
But
it's a
versatile.
genius move that keeps the Valve ecosystem.
I think that it probably will be quite versatile because, like, when it comes down to it, a lot of engines are pretty versatile, right? Like, I've seen like 2D card games in Godot, and I've seen like 3D, shooters in Godot. I've seen the same for Unity. I've seen the same even for Unreal. So it's like, I'm pretty sure that the versatility of this game is going to be something that is really stressed because of the legacy of its creator and Valve itself wanting to contain a lot more tools for people to be able to create, especially coming from Gary's mod. At least that seems what it would be to me. I'm just curious if Source is being licensed. I assume they are paying for it, unless they did a free license. So I think that's what they said at the beginning of the article. I think that Valve just said you can go ahead and sell it without charging people a license, because I think they just in perpetuity gave everybody a license. Not necessarily profit, but they have to keep the lights on. I don't know. They're going to get their money back from their games. Yeah, I definitely think so. Because, like, you also have to think about it in terms of what does this do for getting people engaged with the platform. Because if they're going to be selling their games on their platform, even if they're making no money off the games, maybe they're cutting even, maybe they're not. But because, like, they're going to be selling it on the Steam platform, right? So they'll probably be making some money off of the games themselves, off the commission, not for the engine, but for the games themselves, as well as they're going to be bringing more people, more games, more good games, even mid-tier games are going to be bringing people onto their ecosystem, which is Steam, which may then interest them in other Steam products. So that itself might even pay for itself. That's fair. Engine development is just one of the most expensive overheads of any studio, so it's interesting to think. I think that you're right, that there is a huge overhead for that, but in it being a huge overhead, I think that Steam, or rather Valve, developing their Source 2 have probably been developing it because they wanted to develop it rather than, like, they didn't care about the money that went into it. At least that's what it seems. Same thing for this particular project. It seemed like they were like, you know what, we're just going to make an engine for people to use rather than we're going to make an engine to sell. Considering their games are Rust and Gmod, they have tons of money. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I don't even think that it's a question of whether or not, like, again, they made it specifically to sell or specifically for money. I think they were just like, well, we're set and satisfied. Let's go ahead and make another engine. I mean, Rust is $40 and is consistently in the top 5 highest player counts. Yeah. And like I said, again, this will be another one of those things where, it's going to bring more people to the platform. And wow, this thing was made by this engine who is owned by these people. Let's give Rust a try. I think that this also has a lot more externalities to it that are, that's me putting my cynical hat on, that like can be leveraged after this comes out for free. But I think if I'm going to be putting on my real life / optimist hat, I think they just said, let's make an engine because we want to. And then they did. Awesome. I really think that's basically what it is. I think that they didn't even think about the overhead because I don't think they cared.
System alive and thriving. So right now we are currently
no, I get
in
that.
the
I'm just
home
wondering
stretch.
how they keep
the technical
funding
rollout
the salary
for
of the
standalone
devs.
exporting is happening at
Although I'm sure that some investment potential from devs who want the. So I think that's what it is. I don't even think they had any investments. I don't think that they really care about funding the salary because I'm going to think that like they're probably already set. They probably don't even need a salary. They probably woke up every day and say, for my hobby, I'm going to work on an engine. That's my like, completely uninformed take. I think that's probably what happened. I think they said, you know what? We're going to work on an engine today. Why not? And I don't even think that they even considered it a job. I think they were like, we're just going to do it. Okay. Mostly because like, yeah, as Munstery was saying, they've made their money. They have products out there that are going to continue, that are in a way evergreen products. So I don't even think that they really cared to, make money off of it. Realistically, the only one reason I'm thinking it is that I want them to keep being able to do it. I think that they're going to keep being able to do it because they're going to want to do it, not because they're going to have an incentive to do it. I think that's probably the most important thing is this to me seems like they decided, I don't care about the money. I want to do this. And to me, that's much more important than we're going to do this because we got money coming in.
As we speak, Gary mentioned that they still have some paperwork to finish. We still have work to do on our end. We need to create a license between Facepunch and the people shipping games. Then double and triple check everything is legit. When it's ready, we'll be piloting it with a few select people. The first game expected to launch under this license is My Summer Cottage. When that hits Steam, it will be proof of concept for the game dev industry. Once that's over, the doors are open
if that's got any relationship
with
to My Summer
Sandbox's
Car.
full release scheduled for April 2026, we are about to see a flood of high-quality source.
All right, we're going to pause for just a second as I go into Steam and look at My Summer Cottage, because I'm going to add that to my list. Mostly because now I'm curious, now I'm interested. We're going to check that out as soon as we can. Just add it to wish list right here. And see what that's like.
2 powered games hitting Steam. If you had these tools in your hands today with zero royalties and the ability to launch on Steam, what is the first game you would build? Are we about to see the return of the classic
just let it
source
go.
mod
Let
era,
it snap.
but this time
Just
with
let it snap. No, don't push it.
standalone
No,
releases?
thank you. What the heck?
So
Yeah.
For the return
Hang on, we gotta watch this again because
of the classic source mod era,
just drop it. Just don't push it in. Just drop it.
but this time with
Oh, it hurts.
professional standalone releases.
Okay. Just a very abrupt end there, but that's fine. I know it looks good. Looks like a great engine. I'm hoping that engine actually does something. I'm hoping that people in the games industry like it. But, we'll have to see. All right. Okay, granted, they're likely to be making new games with it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, but you still need money to eat, so you can't. Well, like I said, they've already made their money. I don't think that they're going to have a problem eating in the future. I don't think they're going to have a problem with money in the future, especially because they're the same people behind Gary's Mods and Rust, as Munstery was saying. I think they're fine. I think the point was to show technical capability of controlling the physics and then showing the spring motion. Maybe. All right, guys. It has come to my attention that 4 days ago, Shu has released yet another video. Is it a banger? I don't know. Is it going to be bad? I don't know. But it's about what's happening in Iran. So we're going to have to check it out. I'm excited. I like Shu on head videos. I don't care if anybody else doesn't like them. I want to do them. That's what we're going to do. Let's get into it.
So, what happened? Well,
I
a
don't
few
know.
weeks ago,
Tell
our
me.
government had a That's So Raven premonition. They had a vision, and they saw into the future. They saw that Iran was going to attack Israel. So we went ahead and attacked Iran. Now we're in some
To be fair, they've been saying that they were going to do it forever.
bullshit war. No, I am not joking. That's basically what happened. Despite the Pentagon saying there was no proof Iran was going to attack, it came to us in a
Okay.
dream. Source: we made it the f*** up. Now, there are many reasons floating around for this war. Israel, China, Russia, oil, Iran being 2 weeks away from having a nuclear bomb for the past 40 years, bringing democracy to Iran, and
To be fair, that last one with them maybe possibly getting a nuclear weapon is something that I will be completely honest. I don't think they should have. Not gonna lie.
many other things, and we can discuss those things. Maybe it's all those things at the same time. But there is
Sure.
one thing I feel is just not getting enough attention. And that is the many people in our government who believe in a literal doomsday prophecy about this war and are possibly pushing our president to take the necessary steps to make it happen.
Sure. That could definitely be a thing. I do think that there are some people inside the US government who might be taking some things a little too seriously. That is the wrong word. Maybe literally. We're going to have to see some major proof of that, though, because that, in a way, in my opinion, might be a bit of a conspiracy theory. I would know. I like conspiracy theories.
No, I am not joking. No, this is
Okay.
not a conspiracy theory. This
Okay.
is not the Candace Owens channel. This is
That's
a
very
real
true.
thing, and we gotta talk about it. Now, I
Okay.
know I keep saying the next video is going to be a slop video. I know, I'm sorry, but things
Where's my slot video, Shu? I've been waiting for it. I've been waiting for literally a year at this point. You said this a year ago. And here we are without a Shu slot video. It's okay. We forgive you. But we are disappointed.
just keep happening. But that's okay, it will be over quick, and then we can get to the more important issues, like making fun of women on TikTok. So in this video, we will talk about this
Okay.
f***ass war. We will discuss the strange characters who are encouraging it, the
Yes,
doomsday
please.
cult they belong to, and
Yes,
I will
please.
crash out a little bit.
Oh boy.
Okay. A lot of it. The Iran war
Imagine.
is an extremely hot topic that affects literally everything, from the stock market to gas prices to possible World War III. It feels like I wake up
She's got to build up the hype of the news cycle for the news cycle needs to like chill for a month. I mean, kind of. Yeah. A lot of things happening.
every morning, and like 5 major historical events have happened while I was sleeping overnight. So
Well, historical events happen every day. It's just now we have the ability to talk about them near instantaneously instead of reading about them 50 years down the line in our children's history books.
it's pretty hard to keep up with the news lately. And that's
Yes.
why for 5 years now, I have been using today's sponsor,
Ground News?
Ground News.
Imagine.
So let's quickly give them a shout out before we get into this video, shall we? Ground News is a website and an app that gives readers a fun, easy, and transparent way to
Sure.
read the news from all across the political spectrum, from left, right, and center. Every story comes with a quick visual breakdown of political bias that helps you understand the full story and really make sure you're seeing both sides.
No,
It even
she's
tells
right.
you
Sometimes
who these
there's, like,
outlets
dozens
are
of them
owned by,
overnight.
which is really cool. Ground News
Again,
makes it really easy to compare headlines.
The way that I look
to
at it
see
is
how
like there's
political
like
bias can really
confluences
affect
of
the
events
framing
that
of a story.
happen
For example,
that are
this
they're
story about
clustered
how
real
Trump
close
says
to each
he's
other.
postponing strikes
So
on Iran
maybe you're
power
right
plants.
that,
A
you know,
right-wing outlet
we've had
covered it
an
like
excess
oil
of
goes down
historical
and the
events.
stock exchanges go back up to the green.
But
after
I don't know
Donald
if it's
Trump
anything
talks
more
about
or
Iran.
less than what's happened
And
in the
a
past
left-wing
on
outlet
like
covered
particular
it like,
days.
surprise, Trump tacoed out of his plan to obliterate Iranian power plants. As you can see,
At least
very
in terms
different
of,
vibes
like,
here. One of my favorite features
things
on
that will
Ground
be
News
written
has to
about
be
and remembered.
the blind spot feature, which shows you news stories that have been covered by one side of the political spectrum and ignored by the other.
I don't know,
For
I'm not
example, here's a
convinced.
story about how Trump is still more popular than Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom, despite everything that's going on.
True.
But they're still going to run them in 2028, aren't they? 29 sources covered this.
Well, he's more
70%
popular than
of
them because,
were
like,
right-wing, and only 15%
believe
were
it or not,
left-wing,
more than
probably
50%
because
of the
it's
country
a little
agree with
embarrassing.
what's
I have
happening.
been using Ground News for years now. It is one of the first
Strange
apps
how that works,
I look
right?
at when I wake up in the morning. But don't just take my word for it. Even the Nobel Peace Center called it an excellent way to stay informed, avoid echo chambers, and expand your worldview. Best of all, I am currently offering 40% off their Vantage plan, which is the plan I use to get all of their amazing features. So go to ground.news/shoe, that's ground.news/shoe, or use the QR code right here on screen, or the link in the video description. I think what they're doing is really important, especially right now. I feel like we need
It is.
to see the
It's
news
very
in a
important,
more
not gonna lie.
transparent and balanced way. It is just a
The
really
problem
great app,
is
and
like,
I recommend it. So thank you, Ground
it's
News,
the
for
water
sponsoring this video,
and the proverbial,
and thank you,
you
the
can lead a
viewer,
horse
for
to
not
water, but you
skipping
can't
the
make him
ad, as
drink.
always. Right? Now,
Nope, I
let's
didn't
get back
skip
to the
ad.
video.
Trust me, I didn't.
Happy day 24 of the special 2-week military operation, everybody. We did it! Mission accomplished. I feel like every day I wake up and Trump is like, we won. And then something else blows up. And then again, he's like, we won. And then we're
Well, I mean, we're going to be completely fair about it. We killed their leaders. And we're probably going to continue doing that until something changes within the country. Kind of seems like it.
back
in the
at
abstract,
war, but
at
it's not
least.
a war. But we won the war. Hey, maybe it will be over by the time this video uploads, because apparently Iran wants to talk to JD Vance. JD Vance is apparently
That's a huge improvement from wanting to do every post saying they want to bomb America. Like an actual huge improvement.
the peacemaker here. Imagine the Iran war.
And yes, the vice president, in broad terms, generally speaking, is a large peace broker, especially for the president. That happens quite often, and quite often the vice president is deployed to talk to foreign dignitaries in this capacity. So yes.
Imagine possible World War III even. In the hands of a shoe-on headband. We're all gonna die. People word for word, bar for bar, repeating the NPC talking points that we heard during the Iraq War. This Middle Eastern country is building weapons of mass destruction. They hate America. We're gonna bring them democracy. It's all the same shit. It's all the same people pushing for
Well, I'm pretty sure we have
Only
more...
this time we have social media, and we are...
I'm pretty sure we have more evidence of that, though, than the 2001 invasion of Iraq. And the reason is because, like, we know where they were enriching the uranium and we knew that they had it, as far as I'm aware. So we have a lot more direct evidence than previously. Sure, maybe it is the same impetus, but this time I'm a little bit more convinced.
Seeing war propaganda from all sides being debunked right in front of our eyes. Social media has like truly been the worst thing that has ever happened to the government.
That
Imagine
I can
like
agree
getting
on.
away with decades and decades of propaganda now being debunked in real time by people called like PP Poo Poo 69.
Imagine.
Brutal. Sorry, I have to like white balance my camera. I'm using... It's story time! I'm gonna be the new Miss Rachel. Today's number is 7, and we're gonna talk about...
I wonder how many people would actually watch that. The number would probably be staggering.
Tower 7! Anyway, I'm not the kind of person that's like, oh, I hope Iran wins. That's like, I saw people saying that, like, that is psychotic. I don't want to go down with the USS Great Satan. You know what I mean? Like, if we're in a war... I want to win the war. I just don't understand why there has to...
Hell yeah, we show up, we're gonna fucking win that bitch. Every time. Thank you. huge.
To be a war. We know regime change.
True, I don't want there to be a war
doesn't
either.
work. We've tried this already. It never f***ing works. We always make shit worse. We're not the world police. There are so many people all over the world suffering, but our priority as a
Sure. Actually, that's an interesting point. We're not the world police, but should we be? I think that's probably a more important question in the continuation, because we are not the world police, and we've been acting not like the world police, but we also have been acting like the world police. Would the world look better if we were the police? I don't know. It might be a good question to litigate. You can have your opinions, you can have your thought processes on that, but we already police the seas, and we do a pretty fucking good job of that. And people, rather other nations, other state actors, also are very appreciative of that. That goes unresolved and untalked about for quite a little bit, but we do it. I don't know. It might be a positive change. It might be a negative change. It might be a neutral change. I think that's probably a good discussion that should be being held in the highest levers of power.
America is to take care of Americans. And the American people are...
And of course, the accountability measures and making sure that we're held accountable to some legitimate standard, that all can come later on in the discussion. It's just getting over the hump of allowing the United States to do that is the first hurdle.
Suffering. And now we're asking for $200 billion for war.
And whether or not we want to.
$200 billion. Notice nobody's like, who's gonna pay for that? When it's shit like war, but when it's for your mom's diabetes medication, it's pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. $200 billion while American situations have not gotten any better. In fact, they're just going to get worse now. Everything
True.
is going to get more expensive, but that's okay, apparently. That's okay. That's not a concern.
The U.S. economy is fundamentally sound, and that if it were to be
I
extended,
don't agree with that, mister.
it wouldn't really disrupt the U.S. economy very much at all. It would.
So I guess that really depends on how you want to make your interpretive decision on that, because obviously 200 billion is not a drop in the bucket for most people. But in terms of the US economy, what's being reinvested, it's really low. It's not a lot of money. Sure, we can argue about whether or not that money could be better spent on other programs, but in the same breath, we need to have a legitimate argument about whether or not the other programs that were funded or funding on the US government's list of funding should also be a legitimate program. We don't want to have an honest discussion about it, because if we actually had an honest discussion about it, I bet you the U.S. economy, or rather the U.S. expenditure, would get gutted. Just absolutely gutted. Because we have so much bureaucratic bloat and so much dead money that's just flying around the system that you would be surprised at how much money we could actually cut and nothing would change for anybody. I do think that an increase in military expenditure might be a good idea, only in the sense that I feel more comfortable allowing my tax dollars to go to that and to go to legitimate programs within the military for sure, rather than some of the other programs that I very much disagree with. Because I can always benefit in a way from a defense expenditure. I cannot benefit from other expenditures that are specifically made to disclude me. And you can talk about whether or not some of them are needed or not. But I think everybody benefits from a defense expenditure. So take that for what you will.
Would hurt consumers, and we'd have to think about, if that continued, what we would have to do about that. But that's really the last of our concerns right now.
Consumers. That's what we are to these people. Just good little obedient bug people, gonna go see a Marvel movie, maybe buy a Labubu, eat a little Dubai chocolate. We have no soul,
Sure.
no lives, no families to take care of. We are just consumed. And when we can't take care of those families, you know what their solution is? What's their solution? Take fewer trips to Starbucks.
Wow, that's you're really in touch with people with that quote. 100%. Maybe you should recall whoever's making this quote. That's rough.
If I say what I am thinking, I will be banned off YouTube, so I will simply be silent. Gas is gonna be like a fucking $1 billion.
Imagine.
But that's okay, guys. Short-term pain, long-term gain.
This is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain.
Well, I don't know. Have we been seeing the returns on Venezuela yet? Is a real question. So, what has the U.S. gas prices been like over the last year? Sure, we'll use last year. Actually, I think it would be better to compare. What was the price, the average American gas price in 2023 compared to today? Do we have a graph? All right, so in 2022, the average gas price was somewhere around 4.92 or about $5 per gallon. It is now current year 3.63 per gallon. To be fair, it's going up right now. It's in a miniature spike, but over the last few years, it has been going down precipitously. So maybe relatively it's going up, but right now it is to the curve going down.
For the long-term gain.
So we'll have to see.
Short-term pain be for long-term gain.
We're going to have some short-term pain.
And, you know, like we said, we still have a lot of other interests in Venezuela. We'll have to see how that plays out, because if Venezuela even goes moderately well, even minorly well, we're going to see cheaper gas just because they're a gas exporter. And if they're favorable to the United States, which it seems like they're starting to trend towards that way, then I wouldn't be surprised if we see cheaper gas prices, or at least possible cheaper gas prices. A lot of that has to do with the execs at, you know, the gas companies setting the price of oil. It's kind of a cartel anyway. I don't hold my breath that it's going to go down considerably, but it will likely remain stable for a while.
With long-term gain.
Short-term pay for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain, yes, but we've got some long-term gain.
Short-term pain for American
yes,
consumers.
The message most certainly is
highly
being
outweighed
hammered
of
to
the
the average
long-term
American.
benefit.
Some short-term pain for the long-term gain.
What in the
The room for nuance has been absolutely slaughtered by the legacy media.
NPCS is this? It is
True.
your patriotic American duty to unplug the TVs in your parents' and grandparents' house right now. Destroy their satellite dishes. Log them out of Facebook.
It wasn't their duty to do that like 10 years ago? Question
It is
mark?
up to us to stop the boomers from sending the zoomers to another war in the Middle East. The amount of people who were anti-regime change war, like last Thursday, who have completely 180'd is fucking insane. I literally have no theory
Well, the
of
context has
mind
changed, to
for
be fair.
being that hyper-partisan brained. Like, a lot of these people are just, like, totally for...
I love when you tell the news outlets got the script. I hate the fact that there is even a script for news outlets to begin with. That's why I, like, never pay attention to, like, legacy media at all. Like, I always mostly pay attention to more opinion pieces from people on YouTube, believe it or not. That's where I get most of my news nowadays. I can't stand it when I have to listen to people who are telling me the news in a way that is abstract and clear of nuance. They don't trust me to think for myself. They don't trust me to have the facts. They don't trust me to, like, make my own interpretations or my own, predictions about what, or speculations about what's going to happen. And that goes, obviously that cuts both ways. So I much rather would like to get the cut to the chase. Here are the facts. Here's my opinion about the facts, and I'm not hiding my opinion, rather than being told what to think by the TV talking man or woman.
this now because it's Trump doing it. Some of you are cattle. Some of you are weak. You are submissive and breedable. The only politician I simp for is Huey Long, and that's because he's dead and can't disappoint me. The worst part about this whole war thing is not the death and destruction and possible economic collapse and nuclear fallout, but the fact that it's good for the Democrats. They will probably win midterms, and if things get worse, they will probably win 2028 too.
Have they? When are the midterms being held? They're being held this November, right? When are the midterm elections? November 3rd, 2026. Okay. What is the Kalshi prediction on the midterm elections? So they're swaying about 85% Democrat, 14%. Wait, no, hang on. Okay, so they're saying 86% Democrat, yes. 15% Democrat, no. But they got real close in October of last year. I could see that. I'm thinking that, so there's this prevailing wisdom in partisan politics that usually when you have a person of the right, the left wins. If you have a person of the left in power, the right wins. The people usually end up voting in the opposite directions. We'll have to see where we land. I know that half of the country definitely agrees with what's happening. I know half the country, well, around half the country, because I'm saying, you know, there was the major upset in the most recent presidential election where more than half the country actually voted for the Republican, which is a trend that has not been changed in years. That went against the grain. It's going to be really about if the right can have their base animated. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see where that leads us. I don't know. I think right now it's a little bit more up in the air than the prediction market might be leading us to believe, but who knows?
Without learning any lesson, without changing at all, they will literally run on Orange Man bad and win. I am tired of politics.
Possibly.
I am tired of voting. Take away the 19th Amendment. I don't want it. I don't want it. You can. The men can have it. The men can deal with it. I'm done. I'm tired of voting for pee-pee or poo-poo and always getting diarrhea. I'm done. The end. End of video. Sorry. Mommy's not mad. She's just disappointed. Anyway, like I said, there are many stated reasons behind this war. One of the things people blame this war on a lot is Israel. Many people believe that Iran was not an immediate threat to us, and that this is just another conflict.
Well, if that were the case, then what do we do with the years of them saying they hate the United States? Now, granted, you can talk about the reason why that is for forever. Sure. I'm willing to trust people at what they say, and especially that they say it over multiple times.
That Israel is dragging us into, making us fight their war for them. Because of this and everything that's happened in Gaza, Israel's PR is in the toilet. Polls are showing Israel is becoming extremely unpopular, especially with young people.
And I can completely understand that. I can. 100%. I don't think that we need to be essentially going to bat for another nation, because we should be going to bat for our nation. We got to first do that. Sorry. We got to pull back now on, we're not going to send people to die on behalf of your cause. And it's unfortunate because historically the United States has done that. We've gone to bat for other nations that are being unjustly persecuted, being unjustly attacked, and being unjustly, in a way, treated on the world stage. And I think that has something to do with the moral founding of our country, the moral founding of our people, and the guiding documents that were left to us by our betters. But right now, I don't think that there is a moral superiority here, in the sense that I don't think that we need to be going to bat for them. I don't know. That's just my opinion. It could change. If they are attacked again, maybe. I don't think that it is right that we should allow a rogue state like Iran to be allowed to be a rogue state. But I cannot morally say that we should also intervene.
It's getting so bad that the Israeli government literally had to pay internet influencers to say good things about them. No, I'm not kidding. This is a real thing that happened.
So there is an Israeli social media campaign during the Gaza war aimed at, I don't think that's not a good look.
It was filed with the U.S. Department of Justice. They undisclosed paid a bunch of YouTubers, TikTokers, Twitter personalities to run defense for them last year, and they are most likely still doing that today. Imagine losing the internet.
Well, here's the problem. Every cause is doing that. Sure, you can call out Israel for that, but in the same breath, you need to be calling out everybody else who's doing it because they're all doing it. No dancing around that point. No being able to just kind of like hand wave and put that under. Everybody's doing it. And if you don't think that everybody's doing it, you are naive.
PR war to 20-year-olds with anime avatars making TikTok edits of Jeffrey Epstein and Agartha.
Imagine.
And listen, I know many people are tired of everybody blaming Israel for everything. Like, oh, I stubbed my toe this morning. It was Israel. They associate criticism of Israel with people like Hassan Piker or Candace Owens. They are just tired, and I get it. Hopefully, I can bring some nuance into this discussion.
Yeah, I'm going to be completely honest. If I don't have to hear about Hassan Piker or Candace Owens ever again in my life, I think it'll be monumentally better.
Not everything is Israel's fault, but when it comes to the Middle East in particular, when it comes to American foreign policy, Israel is extremely relevant. This is a historical fact, and if we are going to be attached to the hip to this country, we should absolutely be allowed to talk about it without a bitch in our ear calling it anti-Semitism. It is 2020.
Or somebody in our ear saying that Israel is the devil.
We are done with the thought-terminating buzzwords. We are done with the ists and the isms. These don't work anymore. It's not racist to criticize Black Lives Matter. It's not sexist to criticize feminism. It is—
Thank you. Dear God in heaven, please let this be the guiding spirit going into 2030. I am so done with all of this isms and phobia talk. Because nobody's using the words correctly, and it is devaluing what they mean.
It is not anti-Semitic to criticize a foreign country. And frankly, in my opinion, the worst thing you can do for Jewish people right now is conflate the nation of Israel with Jewish people as a whole. Like,
true.
What are you doing? Oh, you don't want the world to end in some kind of nuclear holocaust? What are you? An anti-Semite? It's like when there's legislation to give pedophiles the death penalty and people come out like, this is transphobic. It's like,
yeah, that is a wild leap of logic that you're gonna have to start from beginning to end on that one for me, because I don't follow.
What do you mean by that? It's good to question mainstream narratives. That's why this entire channel was created in the first place. We are here to criticize the media and the government that has a history of lying to us, especially on topics like this. If you don't think that's totally valid and normal, and you think I'm an anti-Semite for this, well, I have been called racist, sexist.
Yeah, who cares? At this point, if somebody calls you a racist or an anti-Semite or literally anything, you just got to put your hands up and be like, okay, I guess I'll be whatever you want me to call me, or whatever you want to call me, because it doesn't fucking matter anymore. You're not using words right, so whatever you call me, it doesn't matter. I'll be whatever you want me to be. Who cares? I don't. And it's a sad state of affairs when we've reached that point.
Homophobic, transphobic for the past 15 years, honestly. What is one more to add to the list? When this all initially popped
I'm not
off,
afraid
one
anymore.
of my first tweets about this was this. Many people were confused as to exactly—
It's actually crazy. A bunch of people in our government don't know how to read the Bible, so now we worship a foreign country that was created 80 years ago.
What I was talking about. So let me explain it simply. There are people in our government right now who believe in a biblical prophecy about Israel. Pete Hegseth, Lindsey Graham, Mike Pompeo, Ted Cruz, Mike Johnson, Mike Huckabee, and many, many others believe a massive war surrounding the Middle East will bring Jesus Christ back. They want this. To them, this is—
I have not heard them explicitly say that. I've heard people say that that's what they think. If there is evidence, or at least there is good showing that they have explicitly said that, then I'll believe it. But that to me seems very wild as a claim. Just off the hip, firing off the hip.
The good ending. We'll all be saved. Great. Awesome. Unfortunately, many Americans and many people all around the world will die in a giant nuclear war. Not
Sure.
great. Bad, even. This particular religion is called dispensationalism, a type of evangelical Christianity that became popular in the 20th century. That's right, today we
Okay.
are talking about the EQ, the evangelical question. Evangelicals are one of the largest religious groups in America, and they are a huge, important voter bloc. Important.
I have been to a few evangelical churches. I can attest that they are, in fact, very strange.
Detail to remember. What you have to understand is
The ones that
evangelical
I've been to.
Christianity is absolutely fucking obsessed with the end times. This isn't just like an offhand thing that's mentioned in the Bible and they bring up sometimes. No, this is like their whole fucking thing. It's like all their talks, their sermons, their books. Basically, they are extremely horny for the end of the world. And many
Okay.
of those people are in the president's ear right now.
Strike and strike and strike and strike and strike and strike and
And
strike
strike and strike and strike.
Angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda ata ata rakate.
This is what I mean. This is exactly the type of like flavor that I got. Yeah, I guess it kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? I grew up in the South. They're actually wild. Yeah.
Da baka sanda ata ambo osa kata rite
Keep
eke
go, keep
banda
going.
ata
Yeah.
rite.
That
Keep
schizo
go-
is Paula White Cain, Trump's current
I think schizo might be the right word for that.
spiritual advisor. Like most evangelicals, she considers Israel her spiritual home, thinks Christians should be mandated to go to Israel in order to go to heaven, and believes that backing Israel is a biblical mandate. Now, what the
Sure.
f am I talking about? What do these people mean by biblical mandate? Well, thanks to the Scofield Bible, a version of the Bible that placed little like notes next to everything that explained the biblical text, evangelicals believe it is their duty to protect Israel. You're probably thinking like, okay, so what? Like,
So, okay. I can kind of see where we're going with this logic chain. Of course, you know, just because somebody is in a belief system and has people who surround them doesn't mean they believe in everything that the other person professes to believing or preaches. But I don't know. It does point to a direction. I don't think that it could be used as credible evidence, though. What kind of politician has a spiritual advisor? Believe it or not, a lot of them do. A lot of politicians have spiritual advisors, especially Middle Eastern ones, if they're not the spiritual advisor for their religion. I don't even think it's an official role. I think it's like a semi... It's like this person, they go to this church, that's their spiritual, quote, advisor, end quote. I know a lot of politicians do, or at least a lot of American politicians have in the past. It's not as abnormal as one would think it would be.
like, we have overlapping interests with Israel. Who cares if these evangelicals want to protect Israel, right? Well, there's a little more to it.
Sure.
Basically, the evangelical dispensationalist belief goes like this. Step 1. The Jewish people return to the land of Israel. Step 2. Israel becomes the main character in a massive war.
Okay.
Step 3. Global destruction called the tribulation occurs.
Again, like, it is strange that you would, in a manifest, want to start this. Like, even as a Christian, any Christian would be looking at this going like, bro, like, it's not your job to force it. Like, at all. It's not your job, because you can't really force the hand of fate or God or whatever you want to believe in. I'm going to try to keep it a little bit more atheistic here, in the sense that, like, I don't know what everybody's religious affiliation is. So we're going to kind of keep it a little bit more worldly of a way to look at it instead of spiritually. But, you know, even in atheism, we can admit that the Bible, at least we can admit that Christianity says that it is not yours to control. It is, you know, out of your hands. So immediately you can kind of rebuke them based on that small atheistic argument.
Step 4. Armageddon happens.
Right, because these things definitely imply the, you know, one to the next and the next and the next. Secular word is the word that you want. You're right. Secular is the word that I want.
And step 5. Jesus Christ returns.
Yes, because that's totally what's going to happen, and each of the steps imply the next, right? Because we thought about this very well. Sure. You edited this and posted it online.
Behold, the fruits of Martin Luther. To get my biases out.
I don't know if I'd call that the fruits, but I don't have a good counter argument.
Out of the way a little bit, I was born and raised Catholic. Baptized, communion, confirmation, catechism class for years, all that stuff. I stopped caring for a while and had like a edgy atheist stage as a teenager. Then I was agnostic for a while, and then in 2020, when I moved back home during COVID, I returned to Catholicism. Needless to say, I am comfortable with identifying as Catholic again today.
By the way, this is a story that you'll hear by a lot of people, is as soon as COVID hit and they had like time to sit down and actually think, a lot of people have returned, or at least a lot of people, this story you can hear a lot is they started reevaluating their place in the world and they kind of came back to a different way of thinking. Martin Luther, character of all time. I love that guy. I do like Martin Luther as well, mostly because I understand the entire Protestant argument. I think he was correct in some of his criticisms, and to be so unashamedly correct, to nail what you said to the wall or to the door of a church just to prove a point. I aspire to be that level of correct or sure of myself.
Talk about this shit because it's not relevant, but it's relevant here. I have many Protestant friends, a few are evangelical. This isn't to like hate on them, even though I'm going to be making jokes, but it's just to shine a light on a heavy bias some people in power may have towards the Middle East.
Thank you,
If a bunch of Catholics were in power pushing for us to go to war for the Vatican or something, that would also be a conversation.
I want everybody to remember that the Pope can still call for a crusade. He can still invite people to a crusade. I live every day waking up that I hope that we stumble into the reality where the Pope finally says it's time. Because I think it'd be funny.
Conversation worth having, but that is not happening right now. And if you're wondering why Ted Cruz suddenly out of nowhere is sharing like 10,000 word AI slop Twitter essays about how Catholics are parasites, it's because he's butthurt that Catholics don't believe in the same doomsday prophecy about Israel as him and other.
Is that true? We're gonna check on that, because if that's true, that's also a little funny, but in like the dystopian type of way. I'm looking at to see if Ted Cruz. So this was recent in March 2026. Okay. So it looks like he did share at least one article. It looks like it's one article, so I guess that's not really a pattern. But it is one article. Interesting.
Evangelicals do. Catholics are not religiously obligated to support Israel. Same with Orthodox and honestly, most branches of Christianity. Evangelical Protestants, on the other hand, don't know how to fucking read and think the modern state of Israel is the same Israel mentioned in
Alright, hang on. I gotta check to see what she just said, because I just kind of like zoned.
About Israel as him and other evangelicals do.
Right.
Catholics are not religiously obligated to support Israel. Same with Orthodox and honestly, most branches of Christianity.
Well, they're not, like, Christianity is not morally, ethically, or spiritually obligated to support any one state or country. Like, that gets lost a lot in the sauce because, people obviously are living their lives and they don't actually like sit down and think about what is or isn't worthy of supporting, which it's fair. You don't have to. Sure. Or what your faith tells you you have to support. And everybody has their own, particular biases and what have you. But yeah, you're not obligated to support a country. You should, at least in a way, support the country in which you live, according to what I would think scripture says. Mostly because it says that you should, in a way, be able to commiserate and live with your neighbors rather than in opposition to them. You can be oppositional in the fact that you are issuing a moral or righteous rebuke, but generally speaking, if it's allowed to exist, it is allowed to exist.
Evangelical Protestants.
I'm glossing over a lot of different theology and philosophy there. The TLDR is you can support your own nation only insofar as it doesn't morally conflict with your beliefs.
On the other hand, don't know how to fucking read.
And largely morally conflict, because there is broad tolerance for some things.
I think the modern state of Israel is the same Israel mentioned in the Bible. This would be like the fry cook at McDonald's being named Jesus and you falling to your knees and worshiping him as the savior. And then blowing up the world for him.
I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate. And I've worked every day to do that. Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. Where does my...
Are you going to directly say that you want to start the end times?
Support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two...
Hold on.
Well, hold on. Wait, hang on. You're going to have to wait a second.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel.
To think all of this could...
Okay, but again, that's the people's and the spirit, not the political entity.
Could have been avoided if we simply named Israel...
It's always Southern Baptists, I know, right?
Dispensationalists take the Bible extremely literally. They're basically like the autism of Christianity, which is why so many Protestant evangelicals in our government are Zionists. Now, let's discuss the word Zionist, because I know that word makes some of you cringe, and I don't blame you, because it's kind of just thrown around.
It's another word without any meaning.
So haphazardly today. It basically means nothing anymore. There are Zionists of all races and religions. Not all Jewish people are Zionists. Not all Zionists are Jewish. Most Zionists in our government are not Jewish. So don't let them ever guilt trip you into thinking you're anti-Semitic for criticizing people like Ted Cruz. Also, it's not anti-Semitic to criticize the Jewish people in our government either, like Randy Fine. Bro is a freak. There is a reason the first time I shook Netanyahu's hand, I did not wash it until I could touch the heads of my children.
How did this make it past your PR team? This seems like, maybe you shouldn't have your hands on the keyboard. Or maybe you should. Maybe it's telling us who you really are, actually.
What the fuck? Anyway, contrary to popular belief, Zionism does not mean when you, passively support Israel as, a good ally to have in the Middle East. That is not what being a Zionist is.
Exactly.
It's a whole ideology. It's
Huge
a
movement. On that
now, one of the major characters who believes in this, doomsday lore anime is Lindsey Graham. If you don't know who Lindsey Graham is, you've probably seen him on Fox News a few times. He's been on every...
I have a love-hate relationship with some things that Lindsey Graham does. Sometimes I'm I agree with you, we're on the same side, same page here, and other times it's just shut the fuck up, brother, you have no idea what you're doing.
Single night the past 3 weeks. To make it short, he is the senator of South Carolina, and he is a notorious neocon warhawk.
That's
he has
true.
never
He is
met
neocon.
a war he didn't like. He is basically the real-life version of the Holden Blood Feast meme. That is
Holden Bloodface, Republican, Iowa, 118 years old. Please God, just let us nuke Iran. Nothing else matters. I'll do anything. Please, I just want to see burning flesh one last time before I die. Respectable bipartisan. Yeah. I hate falling back on the old conspiracy theory, but I wonder how many of them get paid by Israel for it. Well, everybody's paid by Israel in some manner of speaking. Everybody's paid by other interests in some manner of speaking. It's just a fact that everybody's paid by at least some special interest. We just live in that world, and there's no stopping it. Because it's been happening ever since man learned how to shoot arrows with a bow and arrow. We have been promising things to our leaders for favors to do certain things, and leaders have not had the moral integrity to not accept these gifts. It's just a human condition. I don't think there's any fixing it.
So Lindsey, girl's name by the way, believes that defending
And it is
Israel
not a
is
conspiracy
God's
theory, it
will, and
happens.
has said things like,
If America pulls the plug on Israel, God will pull the plug on us.
and I wouldn't blame
Yeah, man, preach. That's
anybody if they assumed he was the senator of Tel Aviv and not the senator of South Carolina. When his own state was hit with a massive hurricane, bro said this.
God bless you, but look, you know, I've been going all over South Carolina like most people. I hadn't slept much. But look what's going on in Israel. They're running out of ammunition in Israel. We have to help our friends.
Bro, your state is underwater. Just a little bit of backwards, a little bit of U.S. focus. Just 5 seconds. Look this way, not that way, this way.
Man even outright says he would support a foreign country over the citizens of America.
I know.
All the anti-Seminites,
Crazy
all
how
the
that works.
isolationists. I don't believe. Forget it. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel. I will be with Israel to our dying day.
The anti-Semites and the isolationists, the isolation, saying you aren't with Americans and are with a foreign country is so fucking insane for a United States politician to say.
The worst part is like I said, if you don't live in North Carolina, you can't do anything. Was it North Carolina or South Carolina? It's one of the Carolinas. If you don't live in that state, you know, what are you going to do? You can't really do it. It's who they voted for. You can dislike it, sure, but if you don't live there, I mean, like, I can't tell them how to vote. I can request they vote a certain way, and I can request that the Senate or the House, he's a senator, but I can request that they just, kind of say screw it to anything he says, not listen to him, and only accept his votes on like other policy matters. It doesn't work that way. It is what it is.
How is this guy still in office? This is like borderline treasonous.
Israel and the United States.
Well, I mean, you can say that probably about 40% of the politicians who are in office right now.
Just wait to see what comes in the next
Both
2
sides.
weeks.
The next 2 weeks, meaning what?
We're going to blow the hell out of these people.
Thank you, Lindsey.
We're gonna what? It's not war if the balls don't touch. Okay, so Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz are weird, American last freaks who believe this doomsday shit, but like,
I don't know if you can make that entire assessment out of that. That seems a little bit of a reach. Sure, they definitely have their own personal opinions about other things, but they have also done affirmative good for our country in a manner of speaking. You can't say that purely based on only a couple of snippets. Their voting history has been, at least in my opinion, what they believe is also best for our country, in addition to what's best for some other country. We don't live in a black and white world. We live in a gray world. And then it is unfortunate that there are some things that they're right about, some things that they're not.
who cares, right? There's a bunch of those guys, who gives a fuck what they believe? Well, here's the issue. Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham might be the little birdies in Trump's ear pushing us to do this war.
Again, I think that they are some of the birdies in his ear, because I think that there are a lot of people talking in Donald Trump's ear. Just by virtue of the fact of who he is as a person, and because it just makes sense that, yeah, sure, part of his caucus, or rather part of his caucus are going to try to talk to him. But there are other people in the caucus, especially a lot of independent people, who definitely are in his ear too.
Urged the president to launch this attack. As you noted, I was with him pretty much the entire day on Friday before the attack launched on Saturday. Pretty much the whole time he was asking me what I thought we should do on Iran.
And Lindsey Graham apparently had direct contact with Netanyahu to help make the case on Iran.
Again, not unreasonable as far as I am aware. I'm sure that there have been a lot of U.S. politicians that have met with foreign dignitaries, both powerful and unpowerful alike. So it is what it is. They meet, they try to make alliances, political alliances. Not abnormal. Happens all the time.
Iran, Graham traveled several times to Israel in recent weeks, meeting with members of the country's intelligence agency.
Sure.
They'll tell me things our own government won't tell me, he said. He spoke with Israeli Prime Minister
This part right here, though, they'll tell me things my own government won't tell me, brother. Either they're trying to sell you something, they're trying to scam you, or that's it. I think full stop. They're trying to get something from you. You probably shouldn't be saying this because that shows that they think you're an idiot. If anyone remember where there was a meme of Ted Cruz being the Zodiac Killer, I remember that. That was so funny.
Benjamin Netanyahu, coaching him on how to lobby the president for action. Netanyahu showed the president intelligence that persuaded Trump to—
Like, this right here tells me that the intelligence agency of Israel thinks that you're a useful idiot. Take that for what it is.
Go ahead, Graham said. Ah yes, Netanyahu, someone we should definitely listen to when it comes to this subject.
There is no question whatsoever that Saddam is seeking and is working and is advancing towards the development of nuclear weapons. No question whatsoever.
Sure.
No question whatsoever. It's crazy how I literally warned about this happened. Like months ago, I literally warned the administration, keep away from Lindsey Graham. Trump.
Again, I agree insofar as they need him for certain things. So they politically need him because he's an ally in the Congress. It's unfortunate how it works like that.
Listen to me. Wait, Trump doesn't watch this shit. Vance, listen to me. Get people like Lindsey Graham far away from anyone in power right now. This little Venezuela stunt was cute, but we are not touching any other countries. We're not touching the Middle East, especially. No more Middle East. We all have Middle East fatigue. Sure. I just need to say, I don't like being correct about this stuff. I would rather be wrong. I would love nothing more than to be f***ing wrong about everything. If we don't put boots on the ground, if we don't create a new forever war, that would be the best thing.
Well, let's see. Are there boots on the ground right now? And this only came out 4 days ago, but let's see. Are there U.S. boots on the ground in Iran? There are no confirmed, as of 2026, there are no confirmed boots of conventional U.S. boots on the ground. Okay. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, honestly.
Ever. You can come back to this video and say, na boo boo, you were wrong. And I would be like, hell.
Also, we're missing a major component of this, right? We are also missing a major component of the people of Iran, like the regular lay citizen begging the United States to get involved on their behalf. Which, I don't know if we're going to talk about this in this video, which I think needs to be addressed too, because I think that's important. That the people are begging for somebody to come in and help. And, you can take that for what it is, but I think that's a major component of the story that might be being glossed over. There have been talks of mobilizing the Marines, and other than it's just the bases. Again, I think it's going to be a hard sell to the American public if in a perfect ecosystem of information, if the Iranian people said, hey, we want help disposing of this dictatorial regime and we want our freedom back, and the U.S. population is made aware of that, and we send in, quote, the Helldivers, end quote, in the Marine Corps, and just have different ROE than in Iraq, and we actually focus on making lives better for them, I think that the U.S. public would most likely be in support of that. Granted, we have a history with Iraq, right? I think the Iranian situation, though, is different within context. I don't know. I think that most people would say it would be an affirmative good to help people crying for our help. I don't know. Maybe that's my bleeding heart. Maybe it's not. But I think that a lot more people would be supportive of that than are being discussed.
Yeah, fantastic. That would be wonderful. I will personally write a handwritten letter apologizing to Cat Turd for not trusting the plan. I don't know what the is going to happen. All I know is I saw a commercial for the military with white men in it. So...
Hooray!
Not a good sign. And right now, as I am
not
making
a good sign. Oh no! Oh, that's funny. Actually, that means that they need people. That's funny.
Our good friend Lindsey Graham is talking about putting boots on the ground.
Here's what I tell President Trump. Keep it up
If you
for
know,
a few
you
more
know.
weeks.
If you don't,
take Carg Island, where all of the resources they have to produce
It's
oil.
funny.
Control that island. Let this regime die on a vine.
Is this going to, though, take Carg Island? Is it going to involve U.S. troops on the ground?
We did Iwo Jima. We can do this.
We did Iwo Jima. We can do this. What the f***? For those unaware, Iwo Jima was one of the most brutal battles of World War II. About as many Americans died in that battle than all of the Iraq and Afghanistan war combined.
So I believe Iwo Jima, was that a land invasion? I think it was, right? Let's see. Yeah, it was a major... So, for those of you who don't know what happened in the Battle of Iwo Jima had a huge, like, open beach that was fortified by the Japanese. And much like D-Day, we went in with our amphibious landing craft. And it was devastating. It was really bad. Like, it was very... I'm going to be completely honest. I say this about everything that has to be about World War II. I'm so glad that I was born in this century. Born and live in the time that I was born rather than a century previous. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I could not go to war. I could not be drafted into war. I just couldn't do it. I mentally couldn't handle it. And I think a lot of people can agree to that. It is one of those things that I am so glad that my betters have laid the foundation for me to not have to do that. I thank God every day that I was born in when I was born, then have to go through that.
Guy's a f***ing freak, dude. Also, who the f*** is we? We? You enlisting, Lindsey Graham? Bitch.
Well, we have the best chance in 2,000 years when Iran is neutralized.
I'm sorry, I thought this war started in 1979, when the Iranian Revolution overthrew the puppet government we installed in the 1950s. But I guess I was wrong. This war actually started 2,000 years ago. That's right, it's not about weapons of mass destruction. It's not about bringing democracy to Iran. Turns out we're fighting an ancient desert war.
Sure. To be fair, though, we've only really talked about two people who have been trying to, like, do this, so to speak. I think that there's a lot more people, at least for now, that seem to have more altruistic reasons for it. I don't know. That's what I'm getting the sense of at the moment. Iwo Jima is the event with the 2nd Battalion's raising of the flag. Yes, I know that the flag was on Iwo Jima. I'm aware of the famous photo. I was more curious about whether or not Iwo Jima was, because during the island hopping campaign, there were a couple of amphibious landings, but Iwo Jima was like, I think it was like the landing one that was like, always talked about. I wanted to make sure that I was historically accurate in what I was remembering.
Exactly what MAGA voted for. Another factor that is relevant to these warmongers banging on the war drum is, of course, money. Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham receive a ton of money from AIPAC. Many politicians in our government are paid by AIPAC.
Yes, this is what I'm talking about. There are a lot of politicians, so like black are all the politicians that are being paid by AIPAC. This is the House as well. That's important because there's a lot of them that are taking it. Now you might say like there's more Republicans taking it. Sure, that's fine. A lot more Republicans are more amenable, I guess, apparently, to Israel, which it is what it is. But there are a lot of Democrats who are also taking money from AIPAC. And if you wanted to go for any interest group, this entire map would be black. because there is so much money floating around in politics. It's ridiculous.
Democrat and Republican, which is why you probably don't see a ton of anti-Iran war stuff coming from even the Democrats, when they would usually jump on literally anything to make Orange Man look bad. The only thing Democrats and Republicans can agree on is protecting pedophiles and war. Great.
Because of the former, they are them, and of the latter, they benefit from it.
AIPAC stands for the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Now, you might sometimes see people bring up like AIPAC money, like, oh, this guy takes AIPAC money. And maybe some of you don't really understand like why that's a big deal. So I'm going to explain it in a nuanced way you can hopefully understand. The reason why people don't like big money being involved in politics in general,
because it takes away the voice of the regular American and glosses over it with money,
is because it can literally purchase the way a politician will govern. For example, if a billionaire CEO of a health insurance company donates to a politician, you can bet that politician is probably not going to advocate for things like socialized healthcare or anything like that.
Why vote for the way that the regular human being wants when I can get money and vote the way that a regular human being wants?
And if a candidate takes a lot of money from something like AIPAC, that is a sign they will probably have a heavy bias toward war in the Middle East.
That's
why people prefer when a candidate only takes like small donations from voters. There's no corporations, billionaires, or foreign governments pulling the strings there. Like how I take money from you, the people. I am funded directly.
I really wonder if there's a way for you to even get rid of PACs, though, because there's, at least in our system, honestly, there needs to be a huge gutting of the system that we have that nobody wants to do because it's propped up with how it is. It's going to be super hard to just go back to basics on that because nobody wants to.
By Big Simp. Some politicians get paid a lot by AIPAC, and
yep, $12 million plus $12 million. For Montana District 1, U.S. Representative Democrat. That's a lot of money.
Some politicians sell out for the price of a Big Mac and fries.
Mike Collins, $9, Republican from Georgia's 10th, received from the pro-Israel lobby. I'm going to wonder if we took anybody out under $100,000, I wonder what that map would look like. I'm actually curious because $100,000, nothing to scoff at for a normal human being, for sure. But for people getting money from political action committees, politicians, like $100,000 might not be actually that much money, which is insane to say. But it's not that much money in the grand scheme of things with how much money is being thrown around. So if you took out $100,000, I wonder what that map would look like. You'd probably still be upset, but you might be less upset. I don't know.
Yikes. Weird fact, one of the top donors to AIPAC was actually the creator of OnlyFans who died recently. He gave
That's not a good look.
Like millions of dollars to AIPAC. And AIPAC gives millions of dollars to the people in Congress. So in a weird way, our government was partially funded by OnlyFans whores. Checks out. But you gotta understand, a lot of these guys would do it for free. Hypothetical. One country must no longer exist. All right, you're
going to bed now? Good night. I hope you have a good one. Only like a third to a fourth of an average suburban home. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to be doing... I don't know. You'll have to tune in. It's the first. It's going to be a great one.
United States, be Israel. Choose. Read Revelations and report back. When people talk about the
Nice. I'm so glad that was filtered through probably your PR agent.
Separation of church and state, this is the shit they're talking about. What the f***? Like,
okay, again, separation of church and state doesn't mean that. Separation of church and state means that the government cannot be the church cannot be the government. People can have their own personal beliefs and opinions that inform the way that they govern, but the state itself cannot be the church, and vice versa. Everybody gets that wrong because they think separation of church and state means that the church shouldn't have any types of dealings, or a religion shouldn't have any types of dealings with the ruling of a country. If that is your interpretation, you are wrong. Blatantly and 100%, that is ahistorical, atextual, and quite frankly, manipulative because you don't like the church, most likely. That's just how it is. You can have your own personal opinions, they can be religious in nature, and you can do things to benefit the church within politics and still maintain separation of church and state.
What do you mean there's an American politician saying he would rather the nation he allegedly serves be destroyed over evangelical Wakanda? Get this guy out of here! I actually responded to this guy, and we had a little Twitter fight, and he just told me to read the Bible.
Imagine.
There are people in charge of our country right now who believe we have to go to war for a biblical prophecy. That is a giant
You've enumerated and showed some directional evidence for 2.
major conflict of interest. We need to be asking people like Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham, Mike Huckabee, Mike Johnson. We need to be asking all these evangelicals in office the same exact question. Also, I just checked how
I guess you've enumerated more than 2. You've only shown direct evidence, or at least directional evidence of 2.
much this guy gets paid from AIPAC, and whoa!
That's a lot of money. Not as much as that other guy though for 14 million.
Okay, so here's where it gets schizophrenic as While I am telling you this, please keep in mind, I don't believe this. This is what they believe. Because as I was writing this, I felt like a crazy person. With the evangelical doomsday lore, there is something called the Third Temple. In Judaism, there were 2 temples. There was the first temple built around 10th century BC, and the second temple rebuilt around the exile. And the third temple is this idea that a new Jewish temple will be built on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem.
It is not the belief, it is the direct scripture in Revelations that will happen. That is what it says, and that's where that's coming from.
To help usher in end times. Also, interesting side note here, Jewish people, especially Orthodox Chabad Jews, who are basically like the evangelicals of Judaism, believe building this temple will not bring on the end times, but the Messianic Age, otherwise known as the Golden Age, where everyone will live under Noahide laws, where the concept of worshiping Jesus would basically be illegal. Meanwhile, the evangelical end times, the Jews will convert to Christianity.
It is important to note that what a wild frame to stop on. It's important to note that Judaism and Christianity, whereas they share similar roots, diverge very, very heavily at the point of the New Testament in Christianity. So take that for what you will. They have 2 different versions of the end times that kind of go coinciding to one another's religion, but do not believe the same things.
So Christians and Jews are both looking to build this thing for very different reasons that do not complement each other at all, yet they are both working together to do it, and both think they will be right in the end. Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of War, has openly talked about rebuilding the Third Temple.
And there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible.
Okay, that's an opinion. He said that there's no reason why it is not possible. Who knows? He didn't directly call to build it. He said there's no reason why it should be impossible.
Man, we just want affordable homes and groceries.
True. But he's the Department of War though, so he doesn't really charge. He doesn't really have much of a say in that.
What is this shit? And Pete Hegseth, according to the president, is apparently the guy who does not want the war to end.
I said, Pete and General Raisin Kane, I think this thing's going to be settled very soon.
Okay, good.
Oh, that's too bad. Pete didn't want it to be settled.
So, what is so bad about rebuilding this temple? If none of this is true, like, who gives a joke? Like, freedom of religion. Well, here's the issue. If the goal is to trigger a massive war in order to get Jesus to return, they will do shit to make that happen. They will want to destroy and destabilize the Middle East, and they will use your sons and daughters to do it for them.
I mean, I don't know. This really seems like we're really reading in, like we're trying to read between the lines of what some people have been saying. Sure, maybe you can make an argument for directionality, and maybe you have a good argument for directionality, but I haven't heard anybody say directly that we're trying to do this in like the affirmative. They've been dancing around it. Maybe, linguistical flourish. You can argue about that all day. But I would need somebody to come out and directly say, I'm doing it for this expressed purpose.
I go back to South Carolina, I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast.
Wow, the childless warmonger with no stake in the future and moles on his ass wants our children to go fight and die in another pointless war?
Who would have thought?
That last thing is true, by the way, about the moles. Look it up. Actually, don't.
I don't want to.
Don't. You'll regret
I'm
it.
not
Don't.
going
Also,
to.
the area they want to build this temple thing on already has like a big mosque on it called
Right.
the Al-Aqsa Mosque. I don't know
True.
how to fucking say
It's very
that.
true.
And destroying this site would have like devastating consequences for the Middle East and for us.
Well, okay. There are a lot of different arguments from a religious and secular, aspect that are that have a confluence on this mosque. I'm not going to get into it. It's not worth it, especially because I don't really have a stake in it at all. But there are a lot of temples built on atop of temples on that specific area. So you can make any historical or, I guess, linguistical, rhetorical argument that you want in this specific direction, all that you want. And they all probably have some type of logical backing to it. This isn't new. This has been happening forever.
Not that they care. Just keep an eye out if that Al-Aqsa Mosque gets conveniently destroyed by a rogue Iranian missile or something in the upcoming days of this war. So yes, it is a holy war. We are being non-consensually dragged into a holy war by 3 different sets of desert people, just as I started to get my life together. Now here is the important question. Could all this doomsday talk these politicians are saying out loud just be religious pandering to the massive evangelical population that votes for the GOP to get them to vote for a war that is ultimately about, like land and weapons and territory or whatever the Yes, absolutely yes. It could all be bullshit. They might not actually believe it. I mean, a bunch of politicians,
I think it's very likely that it's all just bullshit.
going to islands and rape kids. You think these people believe in God? But remember, like I said, many do. Sometimes people really do believe in things and they will kill and die for them.
That's
or,
true. I mean,
make
that's
you
very
go
true.
kill and die for them. I know it's hard for people to understand this. They understand it perfectly well when it comes to radical Islam, when Muslims will
Well, no, I mean, anybody does it. That's the thing. It's if a politician is saying something, you just have to assume that they're lying. There are some politicians, some people that are very trustworthy out there, some that actually want to do good. And that should be preserved. The people who want to do that need to be preserved because they are hard to come by and their ethics and integrity must be rewarded. But most politicians will say just any wild shit that they have to in order to either A, acquire your vote, or B, once they've acquired your vote, to acquire money from political action committees. I would even make the wild assessment that most people who are serving in politics don't actually believe in what they profess to believe. They're just there for the paycheck and for whatever egotistical massaging they can get from being a politician. I know that might be cynical, might be overly cynical on my part, but I mean, I'd do it. That's what I would do it for. I mean, if I were running for office, I would say literally any wild shit that I had to just to get a vote. Hey man, do you support this? Oh yeah. Hey man, you support this. Do you now support this? Oh yeah, man, sure, whatever. Give me your vote. That's just how the games ran. It just is. It just is. It just is.
blow themselves up for Allah or whatever the f. Yet when it comes to other religions, they can't really comprehend it. Just because you don't believe in something doesn't mean the people who do won't do crazy shit. Because they...
It also doesn't mean that they won't do crazy shit either. You cannot take somebody's belief system and hold it against them in the abstract. You can hold it against them if they're telling you they're going to do crazy shit. Then they have the belief system and they're telling you they're going to do it. Okay, hang on. Now I might be able to hold it against you. But if they just believed in the same thing that somebody else believed in that did crazy shit, that doesn't mean that they're going to do crazy shit.
Believe in something. U.S. commanders across more than 30 military bases told troops the Iran war was part of God's plan and linked it to Armageddon. A commander said Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran.
This just seems so unreasonable that I don't even know if I could I don't even know if I could believe this. Like, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. This seems unreasonable.
Iran to cause Armageddon. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation says it has received over 110 similar complaints describing the war as biblically sanctioned and a sign of the Christian end times.
Okay.
So here's the question. Does Trump believe in this? No.
Well, I'd like to see if there's actual like proof of that, maybe like a memo or a recording, because if 110 military commanders have said that to like groupings of people, you would think that there'd be some type of contemporaneous evidence for that.
No, I don't think so. But the people around him do, and they talk about it all the time. And after Trump was like a millimeter away from being brutally and horrifically assassinated on live TV, probably not good or healthy that he has people like Mike Huckabee in his ear, the United States ambassador to Israel, saying this in regards to bombing Iran. Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania, to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decision on your shoulders, I would not want to be made by anyone else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is only one voice that matters. His voice. I am your appointed servant in this land, and I am available for you, but I do not try to get in your presence often because I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours, not since Truman in 1945. I don't reach out to persuade you.
I mean, this is all like super glazing. I'm going to be completely fair.
Only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes, ears, and
I honestly wanted to see what the conversation like this was before or after.
Voice, and make sure our flag flies above our embassy. My job is to be the last one to leave. I will not abandon this post. Our flag will not come down. You did not seek this moment. This moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you. Mike Huckabee. Not since Truman in 1945. What did he mean by this, chat?
Bro, that's a really thick glaze. I know, that's like... That's so glazed. It's so glazed that I think Dunkin' Donuts had to come to him to tell him to stop stealing their glaze.
Evangelical Wakanda is an interesting aspect to all of this to consider. It might not be the only cause of the war. I don't think it is. I think there's many different reasons. But I think it is pretty important to consider the fact that there are people in power right now who are very close to the President of the United States who may be a teeny itsy bitsy bit biased when it
Well, I mean, everybody's itsy bit biased. Let's be fair here.
comes to war in the Middle East.
Sure.
Also, draft Lindsey Graham. That is all. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
I don't think we're going to draft anybody soon. I don't think the draft is like feasible anymore.
If you guys want a completely uncensored version of this video with no bleeps, donate to my Patreon, link down below.
Hell yeah.
All Patreons get a raw version of each video a day before. Become a member of Big Simp today. Also, big shout out to Ground News again for sponsoring this video. It was hard to get a sponsor for this video. I was about to do it with no sponsor, and Ground News was like, sure, we'll do it. Talk about whatever you want. Like, that's based. That's based.
Honestly, that's super good too, because I think any advertiser that's willing to say, yeah, I don't care what you talk about as long as you advertise for us, that is the spirit of all advertisement. Only because who cares? Your message is not tied to the content creator's message. Your message is buy our product. Okay, bye.
Just go give them some love. And I will see you guys next time with a slop video. Huge. I promise.
I don't believe you. Well, there we go. You know, all things considered, like I said, I really am a little bit like concerned in a way. I don't want to have things happen in the Middle East. I really don't. Because like I'm done with it. I'm done with the Middle East. It's true. Like I agree. Where I don't agree is I don't think that there's any really good solid evidence to prove that the reason why we're going to war in the Middle East is because of religious reasons. I think there's more tangible physical reality reasons that we would want to get involved in the Middle East. I just do. It just makes more sense to me. Especially because, like I said, we only really enumerated 2 of the people that you singled out as whatever they are. I mean, 2 doesn't really, in my opinion, mean a majority. It's just 2 people. I would have liked to have seen more if there were more evidence, but that's not on me to go out and look for it. That's on, obviously the person trying to convince me that that is the case. So, and I wasn't 100% convinced, mostly because like it seems unreasonable to make the assumption from the clips that we saw. I don't know. That's my opinion. All right. We're going to do one more video. We're going to do the legendary drops.
Imagine being
that gaming is no longer for the rich, or gaming is no longer, wait, hang on. Gaming is now for the rich. Imagine no longer for the rich. Because I definitely think that it's important to talk about the fact that games have become a lot more expensive, and their excise expense are making it harder for people to get into the hobby. So, for our last video of the night, since it is getting close to time, legendary drops. Let's see what you got.
Imagine being blamed for not buying enough when they're the ones that are making everything too expensive to buy. How many of you guys have been sitting around asking, when is this going to stop? It's now got to the point where the price to just live, let alone even buy a video game, is getting out of the reach of damn near everyone.
It's very true.
And now we have PlayStation raising their prices for the second time in less than a year, $100 across the board.
Remember, you better be ready for $100 video games, because they're coming. And the best part about it is indie games are not going to get any more expensive, because they're just not. Because they have their pulse on the gaming industry, and they can be made for shoestring budgets. Only going to be AAA games, and by God, I hope they fail.
And this is coming off of the tail of other price increases that we've seen already throughout the entire industry. Nintendo, Xbox, PC gaming hardware.
I hate to say it. I'd love to live in a world in which I see Nintendo completely go bankrupt and flopped, if it means that we're sacrificing them at the altar of actually reinvigorating the games industry. I know this might be a controversial opinion, but I would take that in a heartbeat. I would sacrifice all AAA games industries at the altar of better games.
It just feels like it won't stop. All these guys are sitting around, these executives, talking about how all these price increases are supposed to feel inevitable.
Get the marketers out of the kitchen.
Like it's just a bridge that we have to cross, but that bridge is now turned into an escalator that the vast majority of people cannot afford to get on.
Yep.
None of this is necessary.
I'll take the stairs.
They're all lying to you. Every single one of them. They can cry AI, they can talk about market headwinds, they can talk about shortages or inflation or whatever they want, but at the end of the day, all this is these are companies that do not want to take any accountability. They would.
I've said it before, but I don't think gamers would mind inflated game prices to a reasonable point if the quality was also high. Exactly. If the games were good, it wouldn't matter. The games aren't good, so it matters. Like a company coming to me and saying, "Oh, won't you think of our poor employees? Oh, won't you think of our poor salaries? Oh, won't you think of our poor company?" And their products display a demonstrable amount of hating on me. I'm not going to buy into it. In fact, I'm going to go out of my way to do the opposite. Because first of all, I'm not going to take it from you because I don't owe you shit. Second of all, you're actively killing my hobby, so I'm not going to support that. And third of all, it's not my problem to fix your mismanagement issues at your company. Simple as.
Much rather hand over and pass down their mistakes to you, the customer, and make you pay the cost of it.
Yep. They have
taken our dedication, they have taken our loyalty, they have taken our money, and they have done nothing but churn out garbage games. Now they want to blame us for it.
Yep.
This entire industry is just going to eat it.
You're a bigot. Buy our game because it's not bigoted. Also, you're a bigot when you didn't buy our shitty game. Also, you're a bigot for saying our game is shit. Also, you're a bigot for not wanting to engage with us in the future. Can't win. All right, not playing. The fact that we didn't get price increases for easily like 3 decades was impressive on its own. So a price increase. So you think a price increase was kind of an expectation, but their quality was worse than those 3 decades. We did see a price increase. We did. We saw it go from $50 to $60. $49.99, because games used to be $50 a pop, as I recall, and I think consoles got more expensive. But I think like it's because like the amount of technology needed didn't really change all that much from one generation to the next, but it might have. I definitely think that there's a huge I think there's a huge amount that went into games have always been $50. We're going to keep them $50 for sure. I definitely think that's how they were thinking. And games in quality went up precipitously through the generations. I 100% agree with that. But now it's just like, why?
Itself alive. Today, what I want to do is I want to talk about where these prices are coming from. How apparently now video games are being made for the rich. What that's going to do for society, and also how
well, they're being made for the rich and they're being made for no one at the same time most of the time, and sometimes exclusively one or the other.
This is just going to end up in flames. Before that, a word from today's sponsor, Boot.dev, longtime partner of the channel and one of the best websites if you want to learn to code, instead of just vibing out to a YouTube video in the background that you then close afterwards. If you guys actually want to learn how to do it, this is the site to use.
You know, I want to learn to code, but I'm
because
stupid.
it doesn't feel like I'm actually studying. I'm earning XP.
I think better way of saying is like, I would like to have already known how to code without putting any work into it.
SQL, Go, real skills, the kind of stuff that would land you a job with a median salary of $100,000 or probably more, and you're doing it probably from the comfort of your own couch. There's a bear wizard named Boots that acts as your tutor. He doesn't just hand you the answers. Instead, it tries to push you towards figuring it out yourself. And then they also just drop the training grounds, which is basically infinite challenge grind, so you can really lock something in before moving on. It's the kind of thing that really respects your time without just padding out the entire course.
I'm hoping that like
all the content is free to read and watch, which means you could just go and teach yourself if you wanted to. Paid tiers just unlock the interactive stuff, the hands-on coding, AI help, and the full RPG experience. Go to boot.dev if you're interested and use my code Legendary Drops at checkout. That's going to give you 25% off your first entire year on an annual plan. Link is in the description.
N64 games were like,
that's all it took for the price of video games.
N64 games were like $50 to $60. Yeah, $50 to $60 and started through Switch 1, Nintendo with the best metric price fluctuation because they've always been at the front of the price change. Yeah, no, I think you're right about that, because obviously we had the Nintendo from the 64, then the Wii U, and all of their mobile ports, which were about $50 to $60. So that's like 10 years worth of games in addition to the 64, which were around approximately $50 to $60. And the Wii U did increase the price and everything did follow. You're not wrong about that.
Something that used to be one of the most accessible forms of entertainment to get pushed damn near out of the reach of most normal people.
True.
First came the price increase up to $70 back in 2020, right when people were locked into their homes with not a lot of other options.
Also, NBA did not ask for just $70. NBA asked for $70 and then a fuck ton of other money in order for you to get other different types of players in the game. This was like the prototypical Western gacha.
And people just kind of forked the money over. Fast forward to today, and well, the last couple of years have been nothing but constant headlines about prices going up again and again.
Yep.
Games hitting $80, even $100. Nintendo being the first to break the second of the...
And all of these games are AAA industry games.
66 seals. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of Supernatural lately. Then came AI. Then came the global trade tariffs.
PK21 was the horse armor
a bunch of other
price
convenient
increases,
excuses that just made the prices go even further up. First, it was Xbox with Game Pass. Then it was Xbox hardware went up, not once, but twice. Then PlayStation raised their hardware prices.
Yeah, I remember when Xbox's hardware increased their price. People are not happy about that. No, I can understand why.
Last fall, and now here we are, just 8 months later, again with PlayStation increasing the price of the PlayStation Pro to $899, which is basically brushing up against $1,000 after tax. PlayStation excused this on their...
Could you imagine having to pay $1,000 for a magical box that plays exclusively exclusively things that have been made for that specific magical box? Like, I couldn't do it.
Website saying
that's why I didn't.
Continued pressures in the global economic landscape, we have made the decision to increase the prices of PS5, PS5 Pro, and the PlayStation Portal.
Like maybe if what I'm doing here gains a large following and I can outsource that expense to my taxes, and then maybe write it off essentially, then maybe I would. But as of right now, I'm not spending $1,000 on a console. I don't even want to fucking spend $800 on a console after tax. I don't even want to spend $500 on a console after tax. Because I'll spend it on my PC because my PC does multiple different things. And I can play video games on it. I can stream. I can edit videos. I can watch YouTube. It's my literal entertainment system. I'm not going to do that for another box that's going to sit in another room that I don't go into. At least my 2.5K magical box also does a lot more things. Exactly.
Remote player globally. We know that these price changes impact our community, and after careful evaluation, we found that this was a necessary step to ensure that we can continue delivering innovative, high-quality gaming experiences to players worldwide.
Which is fancy corporate speak for saying, shut the fuck up and buy our box.
Man, guys, I don't know what to tell you. This is just global pressure. It's market headwinds. We just can't
I know
avoid it.
exactly
I don't know what to do.
tell
It's
you.
AI taking over
Ignore
the world.
it.
It's tariffs. It couldn't possibly have anything to do with Sony funding over 12 live service games only to cancel half of them, burning hundreds of millions of dollars in the process. It couldn't possibly have anything to do with the
It's got nothing to do with Concord absolutely dunking on itself and failing. It's got absolutely nothing to do with any of that other stuff.
lack of first-party output, the 8 studios they've shut down over the past couple of years, the estimated $400 million they burned on Concord, or the fact that their biggest bet, Marathon, which allegedly was around $250 million.
29,000 in game right now, 34,000 in game on the weekend at its 24-hour peak, which, you know, is down from last weekend at 45,000, which is down from last weekend at around 49,000. Wow, they really took a gamble on this, and it really paid off.
Budgeted before marketing, which means it's probably closer to $400 million all in, only managed to make over just $1 million in sales.
I'm sure
and
that's
less than
going to
a
turn
month
around
later is now
tomorrow.
averaging 36,000 players on Steam, a platform that makes up roughly 70% of their audience. Now, yes, I know that Marathon is some divine success.
Hang on. This is a wild screenshot. Oh my god, that's wild as fuck.
70% of their audience.
That looks like the Megamind meme.
Yes, I know that Marathon is some divine success that we just can't see and that the developers are in it for the long haul, but I would also like to remind everybody that Highguard had a 1-year roadmap.
Yeah, Highguard had planned all the way to December, but they made it to March. They didn't even make it out of episode 2. I'm not going to say anything. I have nothing nice to say.
So maybe let's just come back down to earth for a second. Surely it is global headwinds and not the fact that their live service future is now hanging on a morbidly obese Amazon that lost a foot to diabetes.
This is going to be...
is now hanging on a morbidly obese Amazon.
I'm sure this is going to succeed, right? Like everybody, like, let's take a step back. This is going to succeed. This is going to be, it's going to be a great game. Everybody's going to show up to buy it. It's going to be super fun. There's going to be no problems at launch. The character designs are going to be on point. It's going to be amazing, right?
Amazon that lost a foot to diabetes.
This will surely save Sony.
Now, while it might seem like I'm singling out Sony here, I promise you guys that I'm not, because all of these guys are making the exact same mistakes. Xbox just the same. These guys have taken years of players' goodwill and support and money, and they have sacrificed it on an altar of live service, of subscriptions and games.
I remember when I was excited to buy a console.
Nobody ever wanted to play.
All right. I'm going to tell you the story of why my mother got me a Nintendo 64. The first console I ever owned. Just to tell you how much of a struggle of an uphill battle this was and how excited I was to get it. We were going to an event. It was like some type of sports event or something like that. I think it was like soccer or something. And my mother gets pulled over by a police officer. It's like November. Police officer walks up to the car. She's in the parking lot of the place. He boxes her in because obviously walks up. He says, "You know why I pulled you over today, ma'am?" She says, "I don't know. I was speeding to try to get here. We're late and everything like this." "Yeah, you were speeding." Pulls me aside. Mind you, I'm like 7. I couldn't have been over 6. Pulls me aside away from my mom about like 10, 15 feet away. Kneels down, looks me in the eyes, says, "Hey, you know, your mom did something really bad today. She was speeding. She put your life in danger. What do you think an accurate punishment is for her?" And I dead ass looked that police officer in the eyes, and I said to him, "I want a Nintendo 64 and my mom won't buy me one." He says, "Okay." He walks back to my mom. He hands her a ticket. On this ticket, it said, "You have to confirm with the police station, the substation from which he was coming out of, that you bought him for Christmas a Nintendo 64. That is the story of how I got my first Nintendo 64. Based. It was the most based police officer ever. I don't know where he's at in life. I don't know if he's still alive. He was a young guy. I don't know where he's at. But wherever you are, thank you. But I was so excited to get any amount of console. I remember when I got excited for the Xbox 360. Now a console comes out, they fart that shit out. Nah, can't be fucked. The only thing that I'm excited for is the exclusive that I'm not going to get access to on day one until they come out for later.
And now those same companies are trying to come to you and they're trying to gaslight you into believing that these price increases are somehow out of their hands. Like this is just something of the weather. It's just the market. It's just this unfortunate reality that we have no control over. No, this is cost transference. This is them pushing accountability and the cost of their own failures directly onto the customer, all to keep their shareholders happy instead of just taking the hit, digging deep, and rebuilding their trust and reputation that they have destroyed.
Again, they're trying to gloss over all of the mistakes of their past by hand waving them saying, but you'll buy the next product, right? And trust me, it'll be good.
Their belief, or rather their faith in this matter, is that, well, the players are just mindless slugs. That the hardcore gaming audience that makes up 18 to 20% of players is just going to keep buying things no matter what. That their demand is basically inelastic. It's unmoving. It's never going to change. That they can raise prices, strip value, and make mistake after mistake, and that crowd is still going to show up and just fork it over. And for everybody else, well, the rest of the sheep will just fall in line too, because they're going to convince themselves that these prices are temporary when they are anything but that. Because if any of this was about economic headwinds, then the prices would eventually go back down when those winds change, but that never happens.
It will never happen, and it never does. Whatever the current price you are paying for something is, it's never going to change. It's going to be that price forever. Once it goes up, it will never come down. That is just the unfortunate reality in which we live. And it sucks, because it would be nice if it did. And I think that it might be a major contributor to the problems that we're having in our, inflation and in our economy, because things aren't naturally coming down. I don't know how to fix that. I'm not qualified to. And I don't necessarily want to see a government crackdown on it either, because I don't want to utilize the leverages of power in order to force something to come down. That doesn't seem right either.
I'd like to remind people that we were once told that game prices would come down when the industry shifted into digital, but instead we just got the opposite. I'd like to also remind people that the $70 price increase didn't happen until lockdowns, when publishers and console makers were making more money than they were actually spending. They had more engagement, more investment that they ever.
Is that projected
making more
revenue?
money than they were.
This is not projected. This is, oh my God. So what are we looking at here? There are a few anticipated slowdown of COVID. Most of the okay. Worldwide consumer spending on video games content plus select external forecasts for growth. Okay, so this is when was this created? 2021. So starting values in 2020 were okay. I don't know if there's room for it, but we have laws against price gouging already, so you could make an argument. It's not price gouging though, because it's already a price that was already set, right? So I don't think it would be. I don't think it would fall under gouging. At least the argument for that might be hard. Yeah, they really fucked this up.
Actually spending. They had more engagement, more investment that they ever had seen in their entire lives. Even when these guys are winning, they're still pretending like they're losing. Now, while I understand that people can and largely will just keep playing what they already have for now, the long-term effects of this are going to be brutal.
Well, most people aren't going to go out and buy a new game. They're just going to play what they like, what they've had, because nothing that is coming out is anywhere near the same quality that came from the past. Because what is it? The gaming industry has an aversion to any type of innovation or any type of thing that gamers want, because they feel like they take it upon themselves to say that they have to fight against it ideologically. Which is just are you kidding me?
Brushing up against $1,000 consoles, and we're not even in the next generation yet, which is likely going to be even worse. That means that this is an industry that built itself on lower and middle income households, and they are now slowly cutting those people out of the picture. Gaming becomes a luxury.
They're not
Hardware
slowly
becomes a
doing it.
luxury. And
It's
I
happening
genuinely
quite
do not
rapidly.
understand how any of these companies can look at that and think that this makes any sense. This is your audience. This is the people that you need. And you're now making it harder and harder for these guys to be able to buy in at all. And, once you start pricing those people out, I don't see how this doesn't kill the console market in the next 5 years. PlayStation, especially. This is
Coop convinced a lot of execs that they were never going to lose their locked-in audience, that they never got into games before they could go outside. So it not only happened to just games, it also happened to esports, which, I guess kind of coincide hand in hand, but they definitely bit off a lot more than they can chew. I think that it was definitely a short-sighted arrangement that they had with the virus of unspecified origins. I definitely do think that this is where a lot of problems are coming from. I don't know if they've internalized that message yet. The only thing that's going to bring prices down outside of government involvement will be people refusing to buy things. Well, we're already kind of there. People have stopped buying shit games.
Making even less sense.
I wish people had stopped buying shit games about 5 years ago when I had been yelling at the, screaming at the moon about it. But,
if their whole new strategy now is to keep their games off of PC, then shrinking your console audience is just going to destroy you.
Yep.
The only way that this makes any sense to me is if these guys have decided that they don't need ordinary people anymore, that wealthy households who now make up the majority.
Yeah, you don't need ordinary people anymore when there are whales out there that are willing to drop like thousands of dollars on gacha systems or even like live services. That's your true audience, right?
Sales can carry the market, that these guys will just keep paying out no matter what, but that math doesn't math. Now, we already know that lower and middle income households are buying less and less hardware, and more of that burden is now falling onto richer households, which is a much smaller market to begin with.
Yep.
Households making over 100.
That's what it is. I really hate I really hate the degree to which nowadays owning a PlayStation 4 is no longer no longer indicative of liking entertainment. It is now a status symbol to show that you have enough money to afford a PS4.
$1,000 a year and now account for more than half of all of these purchases for all this gaming hardware, and the price increases that we're
seeing. My hobby, my entertainment, and essentially the culture in which I grew up in is now your luxury item to be able to lock to your hip or lock to your mantle to show that you have money. Go fuck yourself.
Seeing is just going to push that threshold even higher, probably into the $150,000 or even $250,000 range when the rest of the economy keeps inflating. So now you're shrinking an audience from a little over 40% of the US households to 26, maybe even 16%. And the people below that just don't have any room to be able to close that gap anymore. Which brings me to something else, and maybe this is something that is just too hard for these guys to understand. Maybe they are just too ignorant to be able to get it. But the more expensive that hardware gets, the harder it is for players to enter, which means there are fewer people around to be able to buy games at all. And once that happens,
and that means the fewer dollar dues that you get.
Giant full production games that these guys are making
bring it full circle
starts
for them.
making less and less sense. I want these companies to get better. I want these companies to shrink down, but I'm not hoping for all of these guys to die. But something like this does not give them a future.
I am a big accelerationist. I am hoping that every single AAA company goes completely under the dirt. Their companies die, their assets seized, they're sold off, all of their intellectual properties go into the commons or get bought by other smaller indie development teams. I want to see it. I do. I want to see it. Fuck them. I've been burned too long by them. I've been burned too much by them. And you know what? It's only them to blame. It's their fault. It's also just kind of full circle. They used to be status symbols in the 80s and 90s, but the problem is the audience that grew their market priced out is priced out and unsustainable. I don't even think that they were that much of a status symbol in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, they were expensive, but they weren't really like a status symbol as they are being used today, right? Like, it was more indicative that you had a solid middle class like family, even lower middle class family or higher tiers of impoverished were able to afford a gaming system. I mean, I knew plenty of people who came from all aspects of the economic ladder, and a lot of them, most of them, had at least a Nintendo 64, an Xbox 360, because it was affordable for them. Now it's just nobody can afford it.
strips one away. There's just not going to be anybody.
I'm speaking specifically in the United States too, especially where, around where I came from. Your mileage might vary depending on where you live. Sure. I can 100% understand that. I'm only speaking the experience that I've had as I was growing up.
Around to buy any of these games, and you're just going to choke out the hobby in a lot of cases. And if this is what's going to happen to the companies, imagine what's going to happen to the people that are already barely hanging on and using games as one of the very few things that they could still afford.
Mm-hmm.
I really just do not see how any of this works out in the long term. One of the reasons why PC has been taking off over the past couple of years, getting bigger and bigger.
It wasn't affordable. Layaway still existed in stores, and you could pay them over time with no credit involved. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Like, when I'm seeing affordable, I'm saying like attainable in a way that like, is it like it won't destroy your bank account? I don't know. I guess like maybe that might be too broad of a definition of affordable. So I could be way off base here. So I don't know. All I know is that, personally, in the area in which I grew up, everybody from the economic ladder was able to afford at least, a game system and a few games. And of course, everybody's hyperbolic. Most people were.
Is largely because people have been able to stretch older hardware a lot further than I think the industry thought that they would be able to. I just seen recently that over 50% of players on PC are still playing games at 1080p, which looks fantastic, by the way. I can attest to this. I was playing on 1080p not even all that long ago. But most of these guys are not chasing the highest end hardware. They're just chasing something that's going to last as long as possible. And also, they're probably not playing a lot of these AAA games anyway, but console's an entirely different beast. These guys don't have a choice. They're going to get drugged forward whether they like it or not. The games start running like garbage, looking like garbage, or the console makers or the game makers just stop making games for them entirely.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they've already started to stop making games for people that aren't pay pigs, so to speak. And I'm going to use the abrasive verbiage of pay pig, because that's really who they're trying to attract. They're trying to attract the people who are going to drop thousands of dollars on a game, on digital goods that literally mean nothing, because that's where they're making most of their money. I mean, I ran at my 1070 until it started trying to melt the rest of my PC. I mean, yeah. I mean, like I said, although that is still in the system by which is now breaching the unaffordability. I mean, I think you bought your PC, if I'm recalling correctly, you've told me that you bought your PC or started buying your parts before 2018, right? I believe the term you want is whale. Yeah, no, I'm calling it pay pig because I have a bit of antipathy for those types of people. Not because they can spend the money on it. I'm not jealous of their money. I am disappointed that I have to cash the check that they are writing for me, because they are the ones that are disrupting, or at least incentivizing, a lot of game companies to start turning to these practices. And I don't want to see my hobby do that. I want, maybe the availability if they want to do that to support the dev, sure. But I don't like the fact that they're incentivizing devs to chase that. So I'm mad at them in the abstract, but not in the affirmative.
It's planned obsolescence, but it used to not be that bad because it was over a long period of time, and it was still a relatively inexpensive transition to be able to get into, a more exciting transition to be able to make. But
so, like, again, I'm talking like, way back in the day, like 90s, 2000s. Because right now it's not. Like, even if you're trying to build a computer, it's nearly not affordable. That I can
no
totally
wonder
agree
PlayStation
with.
has been having such a hard time getting people off of the PS4. People can't afford it. Even more so now. That's why I'm struggling to understand what the broader strategy is here. Honestly, I don't even think there is one, because all this is doing is shrinking your console base, which is also then cutting off new buyers. And by extension of that, it's crashing your hardware appeal, it's killing game sales, and it's just dragging the rest of the games industry down with it.
Yeah, it's turning people away from the games industry as well, which is just... Imagine monumentally fucking up so bad that you actually fuck the entire industry that you're a part of. That's kind of where we're at right now.
These studios are effectively like stores in a mall, and the console is the mall, but the mall just locked the doors.
Yep.
Now, while I know a lot of people are going to hear this and they're going to be like, yeah, whatever. Okay, I'm just going to, keep getting by. I'm going to coast by on the games that I already have or the hardware that I already have. That's true, but I think that it dodges out on a much larger issue, which is who these guys are locking out. Thinking about the new players, the new people, the young people, the students, the families that no longer can justify buying into this hobby anymore. I think we should probably talk about the people that they're locking out. I try to be a champion of fair pricing because honestly, it is just my biggest concern, not only as a content creator, but just as a person. I did not come from money, and no matter how much success I find or how old I get, I'm always going to be worried about how much something costs because it's just baked into my DNA at this.
I think everybody should be worried about things that are cost like that. I think being financially literate enough to actually discern whether or not something is worthy of the money that you're putting into it is a good skill to have and cultivate. That's one thing that I think everybody should just kind of learn because it's important.
This point, even more so with video games because they were so instrumental in keeping me out of trouble and helping me make friends and keeping me sane. And
that's another thing. Yeah, video games definitely kept me out of trouble for the most part.
Most importantly, helping me save money. Like a lot of millennials, I graduated high school, immediately went to college for something that I was not cut out for, maxed out my credit cards, built up college debt, dropped out, and then found myself stuck working dead-end jobs, trying to survive, and just trying to figure out who the hell I even was. Years and years of living paycheck to paycheck. Years of feeling stuck. And through all of that, the one thing that I always had was video games. The one affordable thing, the one thing that I could hold on to, the one escape that I had. And now I'm watching entire generations and entire households.
Yeah, but I get why he's saying there's a specific mindset for some people who were poor. No, I totally agree. I'm not devaluing that at all. There is no devaluing of that happening right now. I'm saying that I think that's something that a lot of people need to learn. Because I think it's something that was kind of lost in, people growing up. Maybe comfortable, maybe not. But I do understand that mindset.
Get locked out of it entirely. The first people getting hit by all of this are low-income households, which is exactly what is making this so disgusting to me. The people who need access to cheaper entertainment the most are the ones that are being cut off from it, especially depending on what kind of living conditions you grew up in. I got a bunch of friends of mine that would straight up tell you that if it wasn't for video games, they probably would have ended up on drugs or had a kid before they were 16. That's not me being dramatic. That's just real life in this situation. Gen Z, Gen A students, casual gamers, low-income households, all of these groups are just getting pushed further and further out of the market because either these guys just flat out don't have the money for this, or they can't justify spending that kind of money on something that they just don't have enough free time to be able to make worth it, especially at these prices. And
oh yeah, everyone needs that. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. That's all I was saying by that.
And that's just so sad to me because gaming has always had a relatively low barrier of entry. People like to shrug this entire thing off.
And the problem is there's a lot of people who, don't have that are pushing this industry as they are. And it's I wish more people were aware of what effect that has.
Pull the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps routine or start parroting some TikTok life coach about how you should be spending all of your time making money. But people need joy in their lives or they start to lose their damn minds. Back when I was stuck,
that's true. Again, video games, in my opinion, are an affirmative good in the sense that they give the space for people to be able to unwind in a way that most other things don't. And taking that away from people is it's nearly criminal. At least I would criminalize it. For all the League of Legends faults, that was definitely a life changer for a lot of teenagers. It was free. Still is free, thank God, but we'll see how that goes in the next 5 years. Yeah, I definitely think that League of Legends probably helped a lot of people cope with a lot of problems in life that they just wanted to gloss over it, play a couple of games, then they had to go back to their life.
At a gas station, back when I had no money to go out, I couldn't go out to concerts or anything like that with my friends, and I felt like I was going nowhere. Video games were still there for me.
That and a lot of
Instead
other
of me
free
blowing
games,
my
for
money
sure.
on drinking or some other dumb shit, I could buy 1 or 2 games a year, and I could stretch those games forever. Night after night, I'd be playing online hockey leagues with...
And you make friends, and you stay out of trouble, It's a lot cheaper than going out every night getting drinks. It's great.
NHL, or I'd be talking shit in FPS lobbies with my friends, dumping what felt like
talking shit
hundreds of hours into
That's
an RPG.
What we're talking
and honestly,
about.
if I didn't have that, I don't know where I would have ended up. I think what bothers me the most about all of this is that I already know where this all ends. I know exactly what their plan is. It's clear as day to see. They do not intend to leave these people behind. No. They intend to use them to squeeze more money out of them than they ever could have through ownership. Middle and lower income households and players are just going to get pushed into one lane. Mobile, subscriptions, cloud gaming, maybe even...
Yeah, they're going to be pushed into the lane of you can't pay for the extra stuff, so we're not going to care about your opinion.
Leasing consoles like PlayStation has already floated in the past. All of it sold as access.
Wait, what did that say? Hang on.
Maybe even leasing consoles like PlayStation.
Join your friends on PlayStation 5 with Flex. Lease a PS5 digital edition console starting at $9.95 per month for a limited time only. So, I do not have a problem at all with renting consoles. I used to do that back when brick and mortar physical DVD, VHS rental places existed. I don't mind if you have to rent a console because I think there's a niche market for that. And I think that that can be done in a non-predatory way. But leasing a PlayStation 5 out by the actual producer of it, you just need to re-examine. Like I don't get it. I don't get it. We've gone the way of cars leasing a console. Yeah, can I build my credit on leasing a PlayStation 5? Do they need a credit score for that?
PlayStation has already floated in the past. All of it sold as access. All of it sold as convenience. All of it's going to be predatory as hell. This is a direct attack on the middle and lower class. It's a way to keep people exactly where they are, stuck in a cycle of smaller payments while owning absolutely nothing at all, paying way more in the long run because the price is broken up just enough to feel manageable while they're able to keep them on the hook forever. And the worst part is that this already works, which is exactly why these guys are going to keep doing it. Earlier, I had showed a graphic breaking down where the paid audience is actually coming from. And what stood out to me is how...
All right, let's see. Wait, most preferred game and genre types of players on primary platforms. Hardcore gamers. First-person shooters, 57%. That's some of them. Played 8.5 genres, 42 hours per week, 60% paid, 40% free to play. What did that Ubisoft guy say again? He said that I will have them paying for every bullet that they shoot out of their gun. And I have never been more angry in my life. I have never... Let's put it this way. If I were the absolute authority on planet Earth for a day, there would be signs. Open world action, action-adventure, battle royale, role-playing games, third-person shooters, sports and fighting. Yeah, seems about right. AAA titles, sure. AA titles, indie titles, 41%. Hell yeah, brother. Social media, pay to earn, 22% pay to play. Need to kill these numbers. Core gamers, so plays 4.4. So these are the people that they're trying to court. First-person shooters, okay. Open world, casual and puzzle. And they pay to earn 19% of the time, and 15% are pay to play. We need to kill these numbers right here, the pay-to-earn ones. Actually, I think it was the WEF guy. No, I think that was Ubisoft. I think you might know the other quote. Well, you'll have to figure out what that other quote is because I'm not quite sure. So you'll have to figure that out.
Obvious this divide really is. Hardcore players are making up the biggest share of the AAA audience, but the smallest share of free-to-play. Meanwhile, core and casual players...
By the way, I'm interpreting pay-to-play to be like, getting to a point in the game and then you have it hitting a wall where you have to start paying for energy or something like that. I hate that. That's what I thought that was. I might be wrong, but
the groups that are far more tied to lower and middle income brackets
are you will own nothing and you will be happy. Yeah. Again, if I were the complete sovereign of the world for one day, there will be signs.
Making up the majority of the free-to-play audience.
I'll never tell anybody, but there will be
something
signs.
Much more uglier start to creep in. A whole category that doesn't register at all
casino?
with hardcore players start showing up for everyone else. Cards and casino games.
I didn't even see that.
For core gamers and third most for casual gamers. So when these companies are trying to push out ownership, out of reach, they're not just trying to change the way that people play. They are trying to train these people to operate within a worse ecosystem, more exploitative ones.
True, very
the
true.
The exact kind of ecosystems that are built to bleed the most vulnerable people dry. This is why I try to warn people. Luckily, there is a bright side to all of this.
And you will be called the worst names in the book for trying to warn people.
The more inaccessible, predatory, and disgusting that these people continue to make video games, well, the more they just keep shoving players into the arms of somebody else. And in doing that, not only are they making their own problems worse, but they're also strengthening the very competition that is eating their market share. Competition that respects their time a lot more, competition that respects these players' freedom a lot more. And right now, that means indie games and Valve. It wasn't all that long ago that we were talking about the pricing crash on Steam, where AAA games were not only losing market share, but getting outsold by indie games. But
wow, I wonder the fuck why that's happening.
Also, the average price of games being sold on the platform had fell with it. The median price had dropped from around $20 to just over $14. And that matters because, well, it shows that there's still an enormous demand for games.
By the way, mean means average. Median means like where the middle price lays.
People have not lost.
And the reason why that's important is because, like, you can have a high average, but a low median, depending on what price games are being sold for and like how big your sample size is.
Interest in gaming, they're just being forced to be a lot smarter
and how
with
much
their
of an
money. And when
impact
given the choice between bloated, overpriced slop and
how many
cheaper,
people buy
better,
it.
more focused games, well, more and more people are starting to choose the latter. And Valve, well, they're going to take that a step further.
Yep.
Valve
Good for them.
updated its regional pricing tools to help developers automate their pricing based on local purchasing power, not just flat currency conversion. And that's a huge difference. I don't think people really understand this, because instead of just charging somebody what the equivalent of $20 USD is in another currency and then pretending like that.
No, they can charge them what economically the equivalent of $20 USD is, and that's pretty important. I'm honestly surprised that, Steam is so consumer friendly like this, because it seems counterintuitive until you really think that if you do that, you actually sell more units and make more money in the long run instead of the immediate purchase of it. Yeah, again, Steam, yet again, farming huge W's. We can't get away from it.
That's somehow fair. Instead, this system is trying to reflect what $20 actually means inside that economy. In some places, $20 is not casual spending. It is a big chunk of somebody's week. So Valve is effectively making it easier for developers to...
a better way... I remember when I mentioned lawfare against Valve. I mean, I know, right? No, a better way to encapsulize it is that if you have $20, that value can buy you a certain amount of things in your economy. So say you have $20 and you wanted to go get a meal from McDonald's. Meal from McDonald's is like half of that. Right. Well, some of them they're around half of that, maybe around 3/4 of that. So the purchasing power for you of $20 is about about a McDonald's meal. We'll just say for the ease of brevity. For somebody else, the purchasing power of that same McDonald's meal is still $20 as we're pegging it, but pegged to their currency might be like $100 of their currency. So that's what we're talking about. Is we're not talking about the direct conversion of currency. We're talking about the real value that the currency can accomplish.
Price their games in a way that real people can actually afford.
Yes.
Now, in combination with this, and honestly, the timing couldn't be any better, but we're probably about to see another wave of even stronger indie titles, because making them just got a hell of a lot more accessible and a hell of a lot more cheaper. Valve just signed a deal with the makers of Garry's Mod to build Sandbox, a version of Source 2.
And there it is. We've come full circle.
With simplified creation tools and features that are brought over from Unreal and Unity, while also still maintaining the kind of optimization and performance that Source is known for, making it easier to not only build great-looking games, but also games for lower-end hardware, which is a pretty big deal. Even bigger deal, though, is that it's all royalty-free. And Gary Newman, the maker of Garry's Mod and Sandbox, explained exactly why when he said, "Valve gave me a chance. I'm already rich. I don't want to fuck anyone over. I only want to give opportunities to the next generation like Valve did to me. We can all win together." Man, is that not a massive contrast from the rest of the industry? So now you're not only making it easier for smaller developers to...
I can't wait until in the next year or so, he's castigated as the devil of gaming by major game companies. and is just, relentlessly shit on by the people who really have no right of shitting on anybody. That's going to be fantastic, isn't it?
Make games of their own, make better games of their own, make more games for more people, avoid royalties, release their games directly onto Steam. But
conspiracy
you're
theory.
also
Gary
letting
Newman
these
is
guys
Gabe's
keep
successor.
more of their revenue and also cut down on the
That's a conspiracy theory that I can get behind.
the kind of overhead that is constantly being
that's
shoved
a conspiracy
straight onto
theory.
customers. And I think this goes to show just how unnecessary all of this is. While some of the biggest companies in the industry are trying to find more ways to make gaming more expensive, more restrictive, and more predatory, somebody else is out there trying to make games easier to make, easier to distribute, easier to make money off of, and easier for people to actually afford. That's the split. You got one side that's building ladders, and the other side is trying to build toll booths. At some point, we got to stop pretending like this is just some market or inflation or it's just bad luck.
The toll booth will never win.
This is a choice. And if this industry
People hate
keeps choosing
tolls.
to push...
People tolerate tolls for certain things, but for the majority, the word is tolerate.
Normal people out of gaming, well, then they're definitely going to deserve what comes next.
And we're almost done
tolerating
tolerating
this one time where I was uninsured, no savings, and I chipped a tooth. And for basically an entire month, I had to...
That's a big expense for a lot of people.
Eat Tylenol like it was candy until I could save up money. And then I finally got the crown, and when I did, I still had to make payments on it. But the entire time that I was going through all of that, the one thing that I had was that I had a crippling addiction to playing EA NHL, where I was doing these online hockey leagues on a website where you get with a group and you guys play through like whole tournament brackets and stuff.
That's awesome.
And while it was the only game that I had time for while I was working that much, it saved me a lot of money, and it also saved me a lot of pain.
I can imagine, yeah.
I'll never forget that. And that's why I take all this so seriously. This is why I want people to have fair access to entertainment, because I know how important it is. And also, going through everything, I also know how predatory the world has become over the years. And I'm going to keep calling it out. I should keep calling it out. Anybody that has the opportunity should, every single chance they get. And, when you're coming from low income,
absolutely,
everything is chip damage. Everything is built against you. I had to take a job where I worked across the country, working 14 to 16-hour days, 7 days a week, just to be able to crawl my way out over 4 years to find security. Then I stumbled into this job. Thank you, guys. No idea. Thank you, guys.
Huge.
But, the entire time I just learned how everything is built against you. And here you now have these game companies that want to come in and they want to add another layer on top of that. No, don't let it do it. Don't let...
I mean, I think anybody from any perspective can get behind that. Like, it really makes me upset to see the state of how things have been going, mostly because I no longer am somebody that engages with the hobby, with the people making this stuff. I am now what they look at as a paycheck that's going to be a recurring expense. And I hate being that. And I actively choose to not do that. In fact, there are a lot of games that I will not play because I believe that they push the games industry into a bad direction. See Fortnite. I won't play Fortnite. I don't care if it's free. I don't care if it's paid. I don't care. I think Fortnite is an affirmative negative for video gaming. I will never play Fortnite, and I will never say anything good about it in a manner of speaking. I can recognize reality and say that it probably is a very well put together and very fun game. I still can hate it for what it does. Just like Horse Armor. I hate Horse Armor. I hate it.
Them do it. Walk away. Find something else. Find other games to support. Find other platforms to support. Figure out your hardware situation. Buy a PC. Buy a small PC. A tiny build.
Maybe a Steam box. Hopefully that's another big W farm for Gabe.
Anything crazy.
Sorry, the Gabe Cube. You're right.
If it's an older gaming laptop, play indie games and do that instead. This is not going to work out for these guys. Abandoning the lower and middle class is essentially just going to dry up all of your earnings. If these guys actually think that they're actually going to be able to support everything using the upper class, it's not going to happen, just because by their nature, the upper class typically does not spend that much time playing these kind of games or spending money on this kind of entertainment. They have other forms of entertainment that they spend money on. And you're just not going to get the same level of income or the same level of loyalty that you would normally see from people that are somewhere in the middle.
You will
These
consider
guys
the
are just gonna
purchase of a
continue to lose
GameCube
money.
I will consider the purchase of a GameCube too, and the only reason why I'm going to consider the purchase of a GameCube is because not because I want a GameCube, but because I want to support Gabe Newell and Steam because I have the means to do it, and I want to see them succeed because I think they're an affirmative good. That's where you want to be as a company, where people want to support you, not in the other direction where they feel like they have to purchase from you
at an ever increasing rate. And it's going to get to the point where it's just going to collapse these companies entirely. Maybe that's what has to happen. Maybe that's the only way for any of this to be able to fit.
In fact, you know, it would be a cool stream idea. I might think about this. I don't know. Obviously, I don't have a huge audience, so doing a charity stream might be difficult, but I wonder if there's any charities that you can donate to, or if you can just purchase in perpetuity from Valve and say, I would like to purchase like 100 Gabe Cubes for this, you know, orphanage or something like that. I think that would be a really cool idea for, like, you know, children in need, of course, because obviously it would be nice to be able to get for them. So that might be an interesting idea in the future. I'll have to see if I can like figure out how to do that. But that would definitely be something I'd put my weight behind.
Fix is for some of these guys to just straight up go out of business, or to just have their stock cut in half, their staffs cut in half, and their presence cut in half, and then just lose to somebody else. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, share it on social media. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. I always actually really like seeing you guys posting stuff on social media. I always get a notification or a tag because of it, and it's always like, that's nice. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. Catch you next time.
You got it.
Peace.
Huge family. Thank you very much, Legendary Drops. Well, with that,
the good news is
we'll get to your good news later.
Imagine being.
Thank you very much, Legendary Drops, for your beautiful video. I hope that everybody has a wonderful night. I know it went a little late tonight, but I hope you do have a great night. Tomorrow, remember, tomorrow it's going to be a big day. It's the 1st. I hope that I don't know. I hope that maybe we've had some stuff to think about in terms of gaming and like our role in it. Hopefully that, you know, we can look at it and say, yeah, we should be standing at least by our principles. We will be hated for it, but, you know, at the end of the day, I'd say that's an affirmative good. Because then we're going to get better things. Oh no? What do you mean by oh no? You'll have to tell me what you mean by oh no. We'll wait for the oh no, and then we'll say good night. We'll see. What have you got to say, Nova? Besides oh no. But yeah, I definitely think that I want to see it collapse. I do. I want to see all the games industry people collapse. Not the first. You'll have to see. I want to see them collapse. I want to see it all crash and burn, at least on the AAA aspect, because then from the ashes we can build something better. All right, everybody. Hope you all have a wonderful night, and I will catch you tomorrow. Peace out.